quarterback Joe Theismann, quick on the trigger and quick to set up. He has been sacked only 13 times, the lowest sack number in the NFC. And when he gets protection, he looks for Art Monk, the rookie who leads the club in receptions, even though he started only 3 games. If it's not Art Monk, he'll go to Clarence Harmon out of the backfield, who actually has more yards pass receiving than he has rushing. For the Chicago Bears, naturally, you look for number 34, and that would be Walter Payton, coming off a poor rushing game against Cleveland, the second poorest rushing game in his entire career. If Payton can't do it today, extra pressure then on the rookie quarterback Vince Evans, who was a scrambler in his own right. From Soldiers Field in Chicago, Illinois, CBS Sports presents the Washington Redskins versus the Chicago Bears. Hi, everybody. I'm Vin Scully, along with George Allen. And, George, what about a capsule comment going in on the Washington Redskins?
The Washington Redskins, to win today, must pass effectively.
And in order for Joe Theismann to pass effectively, among others to be kept out will be Dan Hampton, who will provide the pass rush for Chicago. We asked him about trying to get Joe Theismann.
I think it's going to be, like you say, a big key getting to Theismann. The player I'm going up against today is George Stark, and he's, like I feel, and a lot of people, that he's the finest offensive lineman they have. He does an excellent job of protecting the passer, and it's going to be a big challenge for me to get to him. The thing is, we're going to have to do a little stunts to confuse him, because I haven't seen very many people run stunts against him, and I think it'll be successful if we do it, and execute it.
George, what about a capsule comment on the Chicago Bears offensively?
Well, Ben, the Bears live by the run. They have to run the football to win today.
And if they're going to move the ball on the ground, they'll rely on the legs of Walter Payton and the entire body of Roland Harper, because he figures to do a lot of heavy blocking. We asked Roland Harper about the offense on the ground for Chicago.
Walter needs is a crack. I think, and he knows, and we practice hard at it this week and springing him on the short trap plays, maybe. I think, too, in the off-tackle sweeps. We really haven't done a whole lot of changing in offense, I think our biggest problem has been in the sustaining blocks area. And for this week, we're going to do that.
The Washington Redskins and the Chicago Bears, each trying to stay alive this late in the season. And with that, let's go down on the field. Down on the field, the Bears have won the toss. They've elected to receive. And so the Skins in the white shirts ready to kick off. Deep for the Bears, Dave Williams, number 22. Willie McClendon on the left. And on the right is Matsui on the 10-yard line. And the kick will be high and fairly short, taken by Williams on the 6 to the 20 and just shy of the 25 to about the 24-yard line. Jarris White making the tackle. Let's take a look at the Bears, a notoriously slow starting team this year. Evans at quarterback, Harper and Payton the running backs. Last week against Cleveland, they had only 2 first downs in the entire first half. This year, they have scored only 32 points in 9 games in the first half. They have piled up only 9 points in the second quarter all year. They have Bashnagel coming wide left. Fisher, the tight end on the right side. Earl, the tight end on the left side. And they'll try Walter Payton, and he is gobbled up by Carl Lortz back on the 21-yard line.
Well, they lined up in the I formation with a close tight end and ran the football. The Redskins played that perfectly. They played run, and they got across the line.
If and when the Bears throw that football, they'll be throwing him to James Scott, Brian Bashnagel, and the tight end, who is really almost another tackle, Robin Earl. The offensive linemen, Albrecht, Jackson, Neal, Sorey, and Legg. So it is 2nd and 13 for the Bears on their own 22. James Scott goes wide right with Bashnagel in a slot. And Evans is going to put it up. Throwing over the middle, might have been intended for Payton, and Roland Harper was the short man, but he threw it over Harper and too wide of Payton. Let's take a look now at the Redskins, a veteran defensive line with Carl Lortz and Dave Butts, Dyron Talbot, and Coy Bacon up front.
Well, you know, again, the Bears have to run the football effectively to win. If they throw the ball too much today, they're thrown into the Redskins defense. Pass defense is their strength.
Well, it's 3rd and 13 on the Bear 22-yard line. Scott goes right, and they go slot left this time with Baschnagel inside Watts, and Evans looking and releasing in time to Baschnagel at the 40, and he's still on his feet at the 45 before being pushed back. First down from Vince Evans to Brian Baschnagel.
Well, the big thing here is watch the protection that Evans gets. Good protection. No rush at all. Plenty of time to throw. Still doesn't have to throw the ball. Followed his primary receiver all the way. Big first down. That gives him a lot of confidence early in the ball game to complete a pass, Vin.
So Brian Baschnagel gets the ball to the Bear 44-yard line where it's 1st and 10, and they go slot right. Baschnagel inside Scott. Big Robin Earl is the tight end on the left side. Roland Harper looking for daylight, and he carries to the 49-yard line. So he picked up 5, and it'll be 2nd and 5.
That last play is a pick-a-hole play where the fullback kind of reads the middle linebacker, and if he runs out of there, he cuts back. Harper does a good job at picking a hole.
The Bears have beaten the Redskins 3 of the last 4 times they have faced. They only lost since 1968 when Washington pounded them 42-0. That was in 1974. So it's 2nd and 5 from the 49 for Vince Evans. He has Chris Haynes wide right and Brian Baschnagel wide left. And they go to Payton on a trap, and he's out in front. And there goes Willie Walter all the way. For Walter Payton, he had not scored a touchdown since 7 weeks ago against the Saints.
Well, this is a fast trap that we talked about at the start of the show. 69, Rivisori pulling and trapping. Payton hits it quickly. With his speed, he's gone.
Tony Peters trying to run him down, but there was no chance. And so the Bears electrifying the sellout crowd. A 51-yard touchdown run on a quick trap for Walter Payton. And now we'll see about Bob Thomas's point after. The hold and kick. It is good.
Well, we said the Bears had to run to win. And a back like Payton needs a big play early to get going.
They shut him out for 7 weeks, not today.
'78 takes himself off. Paul Smith came in so deep they didn't even have to block him, and Rivisori went through.
Neil Okowitz.
And blocked Neil Okowitz. With his speed and his power.
Mark Murphy got a hand on him. Tony Peters got a hand on him. But Payton was off to the races.
Arm tackling won't bring him down.
No way. Magnificent play. Right off the drawing board. Mike Nelms is deep on the 5 as you see Walter Payton. 7 weeks he had gone without a touchdown since he scored against New Orleans. But he broke one today. 51 yards. Nelms by Forte, and the kick is going to go out of bounds, so naturally the Bears will be penalized 5 yards. Georgette was calling it right on the money, Roland Harper, before the game, saying that we're talking about tackle sweeps and the quick trap, and the quick trap sprung it open.
Well, when you're playing pass and you get a defensive tackle that comes across, now Butts would be very hard to trap because he doesn't come across that deeply. And Paul Smith really took himself out. He came in so deep.
And the play that set up the play, of course, was that pass to Baschnagel, 3rd and 13. Jack Pardee returning to Chicago. This is his first visit here as head coach of the Washington Redskins. Pardee, of course, was the coach here from 75 through 77. In fact, his 1977 Bear team was 9-5, and he was the NFC Coach of the Year. So he has come back to Chicago. 7-0 Bears. Low line drive kick. Ike Forte at the 13-yard line to the 25, to the 30, and to the 35 and goes to the 37-yard line. Matsui, number 26, hit him first and knocked him off balance. Now let's take a look at the Washington backfield with the veteran Joe Theismann at the wheel, Wilbur Jackson and Clarence Harmon, the running backs. The wide receivers, Art Monk, and then you have Ricky Thompson and the tight end, Don Warren. So we'll see as Theismann comes up to the line of scrimmage with the ball on the Washington 37-yard line. 1st and 10. Wilbur Jackson, number 40, Clarence Harmon, 38. Thompson wide right, Monk wide left, and they'll go to Clarence Harmon, who backs across the 41-yard line. Mike Hartenstein making the tackle. Hartenstein recently fined $1,000 for a collision with quarterback Ron Jaworski.
You know, one thing over the years I found out, when a great back like Peyton gets a long run early in the ball game, it gives him so much confidence to have a big game. You'd like to stop those guys early in the first quarter and discourage them.
2nd and 6 on the 41 for Washington. Art Monk is wide left, and motion is Wilbur Jackson. John McDaniel wide right. Theismann chased by Danny Hampton, and he throws complete to Wilbur Jackson, and he fumbles the ball, and Chicago might have recovered it. Yep, they did. At the bottom is Terry Schmidt, and the fans applauding Doug Plank making a hard hit as usual, and Terry Schmidt walking off the field. Take another look.
Well, here's a good play by Joe Theismann, getting away from the Bear rush, sprinting out, not rolling out, sprinting out, finding Jackson on a stop pattern. Now watch the ball get jarred loose.
Terry Schmidt Plank falling on it.
If anybody appreciates the end of the day, it's a Big A Auto.
1st and 10 Bears on the Chicago 42. They lead 7-0 in the early going. Bassnagel inside Chris Haynes in a slot right. The running backs are Peyton and Harper, and they'll try Harper. And Harper out across the 45 to perhaps the 47-yard line. So the Bears, the notoriously slow starting team, are out in front, and they have the ball again.
They look like they're really fired up, and they're doing again what they do well, run the football. That was the pick-a-hole play, trying to get the middle linebacker to run out of his position and then cut back against the grain.
You know, Vince Evans, as you see, has started 3 previous games for the Bears. His 3rd down efficiency is better than 50%, and the key so far in the first quarter was a 3rd and 13 that he completed. Walter Payton hurtling across the 50, and a helmet belonging to Perry Smith flying through the air.
Well, you were talking about Vince Evans. I was visiting with Sid Luckman. He thinks Evans is going to be a great quarterback. He has a strong arm. He's dedicated. He's intelligent. He has good personal habits. All he needs is experience.
It's a little bit dangerous, of course, but he is now a scrambling quarterback. In fact, Evans has rushed for 1 touchdown in each of his last 3 games. He has 4 rushing touchdowns for the year, tied with Doug Williams of Tampa Bay. So it is 3rd and 1 on the Washington 49. Big Harper to the 40-yard line.
Well,
1st down.
Now, they've been very successful working the middle. 3rd and 1. Again, it's a pick-a-hole play. He starts on a slant to the left, to the weak side, and cuts back. Tremendous blocking. Look at that hole.
A great block by Noah Jackson. He took Olkowitz out of the play, and finally, Tony Peters and Mark Murphy having to come up and tackle Harper. So, Roland, when Peyton scored a touchdown today, he is tied with Harper for touchdowns for the year at 2 apiece. So the Bears have it 1st and 10 on the 40. Scott and Bassnagel in a slot left. Play action fake to Peyton. Evans down the middle, and all alone is James Scott. To the 20, to the 15, to the 10, to the 5. Touchdown!
Now, the reason that was such a good call is because it was play action. They faked the run. Here's a split screen. Fake the run. Goes back. Pretty good protection. He got hit on the delivery sack. The ball was a little bit behind Scott, but he made a good catch. Now he turns it on. Now he shows his racehorse speed. Gets away from Murphy and Peters. Well-executed play, Vin.
The second touchdown for James Scott this year. The 5th touchdown for Evans. He has had 8 interceptions. Kick by Thomas is good. And so the Chicago Bears had scored 32 points in the first half in 9 games. And they have scored 14 points in less than 6 minutes in the first quarter. A shock so far, 14-0 Bears. 10 on the Washington 40 as Evans dropped back, and all eyes were on James Scott.
And when you're worried about stopping the run on 1st and 10, this is a heck of a call. Pretty good rush. Scott's open, makes a good catch. The ball's thrown behind him, and here he just turns his feet on. Here's Brad Dusick, 59, chasing him way downfield. No chance.
So it is 14-0 Chicago. 9 minutes and 9 seconds left in the first quarter. Bob Thomas kicking. Mike Nelms is deep. Nelms squinting in the sun will have to backtrack to the 1. To the 10. At the 15, he is grabbed by Otis Wilson, and down he goes. That first-round draft choice, number 55, Otis Wilson, sure got down there in a hurry.
He's been doing a good job on special teams. Otis Wilson, number 55.
Pittsburgh and Tampa Bay as we get a report on a 48-yard field goal by Matt Barr. It's 3-0 Pittsburgh. Early going. On the sidelines, Neil Armstrong, 54 years old. He took over as Bear head coach in 1978, leading 14-0 in perhaps the biggest Bear game of the year up to now as they battle to stay alive. Theismann on a play-action fake, has his time, and he has Art Monk at the 20, and Monk is upended by Gary Fensick at the 23-yard line.
Well, Ben, just what you said about the biggest game of the year. This is, again, a game that both clubs have to win. It's a must game. They're both at the crossroads. The loser is playing out the schedule. No question about it. Joe does that well. Play action thrown underneath the short passes to the backs and to the tight end.
Art Monk is the leading receiver for Washington. Even though he's only started 3 games, Wilbur Jackson fights it out across the 25-yard line, and he has to get out to the 27. On the sideline, James Scott, who just scored the touchdown.
2 big plays, man. 2 bombs. That shakes your defense up many times when you get hit by a bomb.
A 51-yard run by Walter Payton and a 40-yard pass to James Scott, giving the Bears a 14-0 lead. 3rd and 1 on the 26. Harmon and Jackson. Monk is on a wing just outside the tight end, Don Warren. And he will go that way, and I don't think they made it. Jerry Muckensturm, number 58, the first man, and you can see him getting up. Muckensturm headed him off.
It looked like the Bear defense slanted. Yes. See 82 Page slanting to the left, right into the play, right into the strength of the play. We used to call that a stout charge. Stout for strong side. No gain.
So good play by Jerry Muckensturm and Dan Hampton on the left side to stack it up. Mike Connell is now asked to punt from about the 15-yard line. Deep is Len Walderscheid standing at the Bear 30. Up in front of him, Bashnagel and Shuey. And the punt is a beauty. Walderscheid going back to the 16-yard line. To the 20. Cuts at the 25. Stumbles across the 30. Goes down at the 32. So Len Walderscheid going down behind Jonathan Hoke, who was trying to block for him. So with 6 minutes and 49 seconds left in the first quarter, Chicago 14, Washington nothing. Clarence Harmon, number 38, was shaken up going downfield under that punt, but left under his own power, and we hope he'll be all right. It is 1st and 10 Bears on the Chicago 32. The Bears leading 14-0.
Keep it going now.
We have 6 minutes and 49 seconds left in the first quarter. Evans sends James Scott wide right, Brian Bashnagel wide left, and Robin Earl now drops off as the tight end. Here comes Walter Payton. And Payton is stacked up at the 35.
You know, Payton's the type of back if the hole is jammed, he'll bounce outside. He has the speed to go outside. That's what he tried to do there. The Redskins defense closed it off.
Talking about the defense, the Bears resting on the sidelines. They spend too much time defensively on the field against Cleveland. Dan Hampton, of course, whom we visited with before the game, talking about the heat they are trying to generate on Joe Theismann and getting more instructions as to how to raise the temperature. 2nd and 6 from the 36 for Vince Evans, and that's Big Robin Earl in motion. Walter Payton on a play-action fake, and Monty Coleman read it and brought him down. By the way, this telecast presented by authority of the National Football League intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or other use of this telecast without the express written consent of the Chicago Bears and the National Football League is prohibited. Ducking in a score, Dallas and New York on a 23-yard pass from Phil Simms to Ernest Gray. The Giants leading Dallas with 6:46 left in the first quarter.
They were trying to run a bootleg on Coy Bacon. Monty Coleman made a good play on it.
3rd and 14 on the 28. And Roland Harper, primarily on his own, fought it out across the 35 to the 37, but the Bears are going to have to give up the ball. On the sideline, you can see some linebackers. That would be Campbell and Coons. Trying to figure out how to contain Theismann.
Then that last play that they picked up good yardage was again a direct hit, a fast trap, which could turn into a switch block if the defensive tackle doesn't come across.
Bob Parsons, whose longest punt has been 61. Mike Nelms squinting in the sunlight, and that makes it tough handling punts at that end of the field. Nelms backtracking to the 13-yard line. And he got away from Muckensturm, turns it upfield to the 30, to the 35, and Nelms dragged down at the 39. And with that, let's go to Brent Musburger in New York.
Benny, Danny White is playing with that sore shoulder. He threw an interception early, and the Giants then marched down the field and struck on this pass from Phil Simms to Ernest Gray, 23 yards. The Giants now lead the Cowboys 7-0. Back to Chicago and Vin Scully.
All right, we saw Phil Simms hit Ernest Gray for a touchdown. Back here, after that punt and the return by Mike Nelms, there was a flag on the play, the penalty against Washington on the run back.
That was too bad because Nelms did a fine job of returning that punt to give them field position. The one thing Joe Theismann...
Personal foul, clipping number 29 on the return team.
...has going against him. Behind 14 points, he still has to stick with a game plan, Ben, and not try to get back too soon. You got plenty of time.
1st and 10 from the 12-yard line. Ricky Thompson goes wide left. Art Monk is wide right. And now it's Thompson in motion. And they'll try Harmon behind Wilbur Jackson, trying to get outside. But he is decked and goes out of bounds. Gary Campbell hit him and knocked him out.
I'm going to finish what I started to say. Many times you get behind early in the first quarter. You'll take chances. You'll get away from the game plan. Then you get blown out. If you have to get behind, now is the time to get behind when you got plenty of time to catch up. Joe looks like is staying to the game plan.
Talking about time, 4 minutes and 15 seconds left in the first quarter. 2nd and 9 from the 13-yard line. So it was a lateral run and only a yard gain. Now you have McDaniel inside Monk in a slot right. Theismann looking left, throws it to Gary Campbell, and Campbell is inside the 5.
Well, that was a bootleg. That was what we call a waggle action, where the backs go one way. Watch the backs go to the left. Theismann rolls out. Looks like the ball was deflected. Looked like his arm was hit. He was trying to throw to the wide receiver.
And Theismann had to finally tackle him. For Gary Campbell, that was his 3rd interception. For Theismann, it was his 11th interception. Here's the man that Theismann was looking for, wide on the left side. And take a look at Theismann's arm get hit. Alan Page got a hand on him.
Alan Page hit his arm, made the ball flutter.
So it is 1st and goal on the 3. That's the second turnover. Remember, Wilbur Jackson fumbled to the Bears earlier. Payton and Harper, and they're going to go to Walter Payton, but he is decked as he got back to the line of scrimmage. Hit hard. Neil Olkowitz hit him. Jarris White was up there as well. Meanwhile, Gary Campbell feeling very happy about things. 4 years out of Colorado, a free agent back in '77, 28 years old, coming up with that big interception.
Then on that interception, Theismann executes that play about as well as anybody. It's a waggle action. Both backs go one way, he goes the other, and you hit the split end on a slant pattern.
They lost a yard, so it's 2nd and goal from the 4. Evans on a quick hitter to Walter Payton, and he got down to about the 2-yard line. So it'll be 3rd and goal from about the 2.
Well, they're hammering away. Direct hits right down in here. That's the thing to do. The thing that makes it difficult of defense, the Bears right now, with Evans at quarterback, you got an extra runner in the backfield. His sprint outs, rollouts, designed as a run. All the way, designed as a run.
We'll repeat the fact that Evans has rushed for a touchdown in each of his last 3 games, and he has 4 rushing touchdowns. However, it's Harper all alone. Would you believe it? It is 20-0 Chicago in the first quarter.
Well, mistakes will do it every time. You make mistakes, you beat yourself. Look at the blocking. Noah Jackson.
The Bears have cashed it in on the fumble recovery by Jackson's fumble. They went on to score on that pass to James Scott, and now on the interception by Campbell, they go on to score, make the point, and it is 21-0 Chicago in the first quarter. You know what you have to remember, if you're old enough, 1940, the 73-0 game. Remember that one?
George Hallis told me about that game many times.
By the way, a tragedy to a former Washington Redskin, Harold McClinton. And if you are interested in the Harold McClinton Family Trust, you can contact the National Savings and Trust, 15th and New York Avenue Northwest, Washington, D.C. That's 20005.
Yes, Brig Owens and Ray Schonke and Roy Jefferson are behind that. They've already raised then $25,000, over $25,000. Harold McClinton lost his life helping somebody else, and that the least the Redskin people can do, and I know they will. I know those fans back there are great. Will support that.
The Chicago Bears, I'm sure, have stunned Washington, and needless to say, they have stunned their fans here in the Windy City, because the offense has really been taking a beating. In fact, one columnist here referred to the offense as the prevent offense. Well, not today. There's the kickoff. Mike Nelms takes it at the 12, to the 15, to the 20, 25. Head-on collision with Al Harris, and down he goes. Holy mackerel. You talk about coconuts. What a head-on job that was.
You know, the Bears have always been physical ever since the days of George Hallis. Whether they win or lose, they're a physical team. Watch this hit by Al Harris, number 90. First-round pick from Arizona State.
Yeah, he's 6'5" and 240, coming full tilt on AstroTurf. A tremendous collision.
He's going to be a good one. I like him.
So now Washington trying to wake up. 1st and 10 on their own 29. They pitch to Wilbur Jackson, trying to get outside, and the play is stacked up nicely. Coming over is Dan Hampton, and Jarris White moved up to be the contain man.
Well, again, I'll repeat, there's still plenty of time. Pro football is such. We did a game last week where the Rams got 23 points in the first quarter against the Saints. Saints came back and closed it to 14 points. 14-point margin.
And with a veteran quarterback, Joe Theismann at the wheel, 7 years. Theismann brings him up on a 2nd and 8 from the 31. Art Monk goes wide right. John McDaniel wide left. Don Warren is the tight end on the left side. Theismann under some heat from Page. Hampton falls down, and Joe scrambling out of bounds at the 40-yard line. A big scramble play for Joe Theismann. First down.
Then I'll tell you something else about Joe.
Wait a minute. Flag on the play. Okay.
Joe is tough and he's strong. Now, Joe would have been sacked there if he stays in the pocket. The Bears are playing pass over run. They're jet charging. They're figuring, hey, we got 21 points. They aren't going to hurt us that much running. We're going to play every down as a pass unless it's 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2.
And the way things have been backfiring on Washington, this is another case in point. Instead of a first down, we'll get the call from referee Bob McElwee.
Holding number 73 on the offense.
Jeff Williams, who is playing with a severely bruised thigh, was guilty of holding. So instead of a 1st and 10 up around the 40, it is 2nd and 18 on the 21. Theismann releasing wide to his tight end, Don Warren. He got away from Gary Fensick and is ridden out of bounds at the 38-yard line. And Fensick doesn't usually let people get away.
Fensick's a hitter, a good tackler. Fensick and Plank, there aren't two better safeties in all of football. You know one thing, if the Bear defense keeps coming in like that, those 4 rushmen, Joe's going to find that a screen or a draw will be real effective because they're putting in there like they're coming out of the starting blocks.
Well, they picked up 17 yards on that pass as Jack Pardee, look at that quote, coaching in front of a lot of friends, I'd hate to bring a team that falls flat on its face. Well, Jack, that's your problem right now. It is 3rd and 1 on the Skin 38. Wilbur Jackson in motion to the right. Theismann on a roll, being chased by Page. Hartenstein, he got away from them. Now Hartenstein after him. Hampton hurdling a blocker. Theismann to the 35, stepped out of bounds. And I don't know whether he got it. I think he missed the first down by an inch.
You know what that does to the defense, Ben? That tires them out more than anything else. That's scrambling around.
Did you see Gary Fensick say to Theismann,
right,
you still missed it by less than a foot?
Right. That's what it does. Tires your defense out. Now, the other thing that you have to do defensively, you can't be worried about Joe scrambling. You got to stick with your coverage or you'll give him a big one. There's a tendency to watch that quarterback running around back there and somebody gets open.
Well, I said he was going to miss it by an inch. Fensick said he was going to miss it by less than a foot. There's Gary now, a graduate of Yale. And we'll see now if he did miss it by inches. Yep. With all of that scrambling, can you imagine to come up a buck short?
Well, it stepped out of bounds too soon. It's hard to tell. It's hard for Joe to tell where the yard marker is, where the sticks are when you scramble around that much.
Well, Mike Connell will have to punt now from the 25-yard line. Len Waldershide standing on the Chicago 20 with 1:43 left in the first quarter. Bears 21, Washington nothing.
Then his last punt, you mentioned he got a good kick. He did, but his hang time was only 4-0. You can return those line drives for big yardage.
So Mike Connell, he has been averaging 36 yards a punt, and his longest prior to today, 52. His first kick, as you saw, 57. Harmon is back there to pick up strays. Waldershide at the 20-yard line. Kunz can't get him, and then finally does, holding on and mile out over to make the tackle. He had a lot of help. Dallas Hickman, as usual, number 82, down there in the thick of things. So the Bears, once again, have the football. And talking about having the football, Pittsburgh and Tampa. Tampa Bay's Doug Williams passed to Kevin House for a 26-yard touchdown. Pittsburgh had a blocked punt, Tom Blanchard. The punt was blocked by Calvin Sweeney, and Winston recovered in the end zone. So it is 10-7. Meanwhile, Tony Dorsett has run for 12 yards and a touchdown. Dallas has caught the Giants at 7 in the first quarter. 1st and 10 on the Bear 26. Roland Harper running into people, and he's stymied just about at the line of scrimmage.
Well, when the Bears have lined up in a formation where the fullback is in the fullback spot, most of the time he's carried the ball. Again, that was designed to be a pick-a-hole play. The Redskin defense played it perfectly, shut off the middle. Then the Bears call all the plays for Evans. They shuttle their wide receivers in and out.
2nd and 9 on the Bear 27, and the defense getting a chance to rest on the sidelines, and that's really been a story. Now you have Dave Williams in there with Walter Payton. Both backs go out, and Evans will throw to Williams and overthrow him at the 30-yard line.
Well, he had him open for 5-7 yards, just overthrew him. It looked like the ball sailed in the wind.
Dave Williams from Colorado. He's been around. He was originally drafted by Dallas, played in the Canadian Football League, played briefly with the 49ers, picked up last year as a free agent by the Bears.
80, Ricky Watts just came in. He's the type of guy that's a home run hitter, deep threat, has the speed to go deep and catch the bomb.
3rd and 9 for Vince Evans. Ball on the Bear 27-yard line. Both backs release. A quick release to Walter Payton at the 35. He's got the first down and goes out of bounds at the 42-yard line.
Well, Ben, they blew a coverage there. They dogged. I don't know whether you can see it. They blitzed Evans. Maybe you can see him. Yeah, you can see the linebacker coming in, 51, Monty Coleman. Now, nobody covered Walter Payton until it was too late. You got to latch onto him right away. Here's Jerris White knocking him out of bounds.
You know, you mentioned the bomb, and with Vince Evans, you have to look for the bomb. There's Otis Wilson, first-round draft choice, Ron Rydalch, and other members of the Bears basking in beautiful sunshine. 1st and 10 on the 43. We have a point to make about Evans in a moment. He goes to Harper, and he's into a gang. Vince Evans, in his last 7 games, has thrown an 89-yard pass to Ricky Watts, a 65-yard pass to Walter Payton. Twice he has thrown 64-yard passes to James Scott, a 59-yard pass to Scott. So when you mention bomb, this kid's really got him in his artillery.
He's got the strong arm to throw with or against the wind. The Bears' offense is playing with a lot of confidence, a lot of enthusiasm.
2nd and 7 on the 46, and time has run out, and that's the end of a shocking first quarter with the score: the Chicago Bears 21 and the Washington Redskins nothing. Vince Evans and the Chicago Bears leading 21-0. They have it 2nd and 7 on the Bear 46-yard line, the start of the second quarter. You know, last week, Minnesota gained over 200 yards rushing against Washington. The 4th time this year the Skins have given up over 200 rushing, and the Bears have already rushed for 91 yards in the first quarter. But Evans is going to go upstairs. Has time. A deep release to Payton.
Well, 2 things. They gave him the time to throw, and they put Payton on the linebacker.
Well, we just finished calling off the bomb, so here it is again. He had thrown one for 65 yards to Payton earlier, and this time from the Bear 46-yard line, it's a 54-yard touchdown pass to Walter Payton. Payton way out in front,
of Malott,
and he's gone.
Malott,
and
57.
Peters
was the coverage man. He had the time. No linebacker will stay with a back like Payton if he has the time to throw.
That's the first touchdown that Payton has scored receiving this year. It's his 2nd touchdown of the day. Remember, he went 51 yards rushing for a touchdown. The point is good, and they just can't believe it here at Soldier Field. The Chicago Bears, the so-called slow-starting Chicago Bears, are leading the Washington Redskins 28-0, and we're just getting the chairs warm. To today, they were even calling this proud franchise not the monsters of the Midway, but the Munsters of the Midway. But not today. It is 28-0 Bears. Nelms, 3 yards deep, is going to take it out anyway. He's to the 15, hurtling over Jonathan Hoke, and has dropped it about the 17-yard line. By the way, The Bears scored 21 points in the first quarter. It's the first time the Bears have scored that many points in the first quarter since October 18th, 1953.
53 or 63?
53.
We had a pretty good team in 63.
You're wearing the ring to prove it. First and 10 on the Washington 18. Jackson is the deep man out of the eye, and they'll try Jackson on the right side, and a necktie collar by Osborne drops him at the 25.
Well, you know, Ben, you mentioned it earlier. The Bears had only scored 9 points in the second quarter all year.
They had scored 23 points in the first quarter all year, and they scored 21 today. So it has been the most remarkable turnabout in quite a while. Meanwhile, how would you like to be the defensive coach of the Washington Redskins?
That's Richie Pettibone right there.
He would just as soon not have you identify him today.
Yeah. Well, he's a good coach.
So on a 2nd and 3 from the 25, the Bears move it out across to the 32.
The big thing then in this situation as Redskins, you got to rally the troops. You got to give them encouragement. You don't browbeat them. If you're not careful, you can panic in a situation like this and really get routed. So you just got to be positive. What you came in here with, still stick with it.
Get on the ball.
First and 10 on the Washington 33-yard line. Ricky Thompson goes wide right. Art Monk is on the left side. They're going to stay on the ground, and Wilbur Jackson just did get away as Osborne almost took his head off, but he got away from Osborne, only to be decked by Jerry Muckensturm.
Well, 28-0, you still got to mix runs and passes. If you start throwing all the time, you're going to have some picked off and you're going to get sacked. What Joe is doing is perfectly all right. You just have to sustain your blocks, which they didn't do. Osborne made that play from the offside.
Though it is 2nd and 11 from the 32, Theismann is 3 out of 4 for 38 yards, but a big interception. This time he throws a little behind Don Warren. He makes the tackle, Otis Wilson, and we'll see. I think he fell short of the first down because the pass appeared to be slightly behind Don Warren.
Well, Joe threw it before Warren expected it, and also Joe was rushed on it.
It is not enough. It'll be 3rd and 1. 3rd and 1. The ball is on the Washington 42. Theismann has appeared in 3 games against the Bears in his career, and he is 1-2, so he's not been too lucky against Chicago. 3rd and 1. It's big Wilbur Jackson, and he fought his way for the first down, dropped just shy of the 45-yard line.
And I liked what he did. Then he had 2 hands on the ball. He was protecting it. You can't afford any more mistakes when you're behind 28-0.
Gain of 3, first and 10, Redskins at the 45.
You know, it's an interesting thing. They've done a study in the last 2 years about what happens to a team the week after it plays the Bears. We'll tell you that point in a moment. 1st and 10 at the 45. Theismann got Wilbur Jackson, and he gets into Bear territory, brought down by Jerry Muckensturm. Here's the numbers. Since 1978, after playing the Bears, a team has won 11, lost 27, and had 1 tie. And this year it's held up again. After playing the Bears, only 2 teams have won the next week. 5 teams have lost. So they punish you whether you win or lose.
That's what we talked about earlier. The Bears, ever since the days of George Halas, were one thing. They were physical, and they were together. And they're playing that way today.
2nd and 1 on the Bear 47-yard line. McDaniel in a slot right inside Art Monk. And they had Bobby Hammond at the end of that pass, and he goes out of bounds at the 42-yard line.
Well, I like what Joe Theismann's doing. He's throwing quick passes. There's Joe Walton. He sends in all the plays. He's had some criticism, but
George,
he's a good
he
coach.
sends in the plays from the sidelines, or
Yes.
is somebody upstairs?
Well, he has control. He's the offensive coordinator. He has somebody up on 1st and 10, 2nd and 6, and so forth.
Can he see well enough from down on the sideline?
No, that's a bad place to see. But if you prepared yourself enough, you can still do a good job down there.
1st and 10 on the Bear 42. Thompson goes wide right. Monk goes wide left. Harmon and Jackson are behind Theismann. And they go to Harmon, back to Theismann. He's throwing deep, and Monk can't make the catch at the 10-yard line.
Had him open.
Little flea flicker.
Had him open. Possibly a touchdown, but here's a flea flicker. But Joe has to throw this before he's set. Now there, Harmon tosses him the ball back, and here's Osborne coming right in on him and hits him just as he releases the ball. No chance to catch that. Good. That's a good area of the field to run that play right in there, Ben, because if you complete it, it's usually a touchdown.
Sidney Thornton has just scored from 2 yards out to give Pittsburgh a 17-7 lead, 13:32 to the half in that game with Tampa Bay.
Well, the Bears like that score because Tampa's still in the running.
2nd and 10 from the 42, and the pass deflected, intended for Wilbur Jackson, and Len Walderscheid was right there with him.
And number 82, Alan Page, right in Theismann's face. That's one thing that Page can still do at his advanced age, is rush the passer.
His advanced age, Alan Page, is 35, and he is playing in his 193rd consecutive game against Washington today.
And they picked him up as a free agent. Didn't cost him a draft choice or a player. Very fine move on the Bears' part.
3rd and 10 on the Bear 42. Art Monk goes wide right, Thompson in the slot right, and they shake Don Warren, the tight end, loose on the left side. Theismann, he has Monk, and Monk is grabbed by Terry Schmidt. I believe he got the first down. It's going to be close.
The Bears ran a stunt to get at the passer, running what we call a Lex. Here's the receiver up there in the box. Joe has good protection on this. He's watching Monk all the way. Monk runs an out pattern, makes a good sharp break, and the ball's on target for a first down.
Problem about that first down, see him come back and be spun, and he had to get to the marker, and I'm not sure if he got it or not. From the looks of things, he did not quite make it. It's a couple of inches.
Might be short.
Yep, so it looks like 4th and inches for Washington, trailing 28-0 to the Bears with 10 minutes left to the half. There you can see the measurement. Gives us a chance to remind you the Houston Oilers will be here in Chicago next week, a 3 o'clock game. Meanwhile, Washington will host the Philadelphia Eagles. So 4th and inches. Jackson and Harmon out of the eye. Art Monk on the left side. Go to Wilbur Jackson, trying to cut back. I believe he might have fallen forward to get the first down. Terry Schmidt hit him.
You know, when Monk gets a little more experience, he'll get that first down. See, he didn't have to come quite that far back for the ball.
Right.
Now, that last play, that kind of scared me. Running wide when you got 4th and maybe an inch and a half to go.
And if he made it by inches, so he did. So it'll be 1st and 10 on the Bear 32. Remember, they started after Washington took the kickoff following that long pass to Walter Payton, and the Skins now trying to generate. The Giants, on a 1-yard run by Larry Heater, have come back to take a 14-7 lead. 11 minutes left in the half. 1st and 10 from the Bear 32. Theismann tripped and fell down.
Well,
Muckensturm was dogging, but Joe just went down on his own.
It looked like what we call a tight blast, where the middle linebacker and the weak side linebacker come right in. Nobody picked up the linebacker, and Joe tripped, which you do on AstroTurf. Muckensturm, nobody picked him up.
Well, they lose 8 on that.
The nap on that AstroTurf sometimes is higher in some places than it isn't in other. Even if you don't have cleats, you sometimes stumble.
So they lose 8. That makes it 2nd and 18. Jack Pardee and Joe Walton trying to get an offense in gear. Theismann throwing low and behind Art Monk.
Well, I tell you what Joe did that time. He's hurrying his throw. He had Art Monk open, and the Bears are running stunts. Stunt is where the tackle will go first and the end will come behind him, or the end will go first and the tackle will come behind him. You do that to confuse the offensive blocking, and it's pretty good also to stop draws. The Redskins have yet to run a draw or a screen.
Theismann is 7 for 11 for 70 yards, 1 interception. That led to the touchdown, the interception by linebacker Gary Campbell. So 3rd and 18 from the 40. And the Bears make contact.
Yeah.
Alan Page was one of a couple.
Now, that may seem like an incidental thing, but that 5 yards means an awful lot
Defense.
to Joe in picking up the first down. The inflection of his voice pulled him offside. Instead of watching the ball, the defense is listening to the quarterback's voice.
Number 82, defense, 3rd down.
It was Alan Page who encroached. It is 3rd and 13 on the left side of the screen. C82, watch his right hand. Bingo. So 3rd and 13 from the Bear 35. Against Williams.
Well,
we'll see Jeff Williams of Washington now, 73.
Yeah, right.
He came out of his stance too quickly. Right side. See
right.
that?
Now, he in turn is listening to Joe's voice. So Joe pulled him offside.
Well, Joe's even now. He's balanced the scales. First he got Page, now he got Jeff Williams.
Now, if Page hadn't made contact and got back, there's no penalty then.
Right. With 10 minutes left to the half in that seesaw game in New York, we're getting another bulletin on a touchdown. We'll give that to you in a moment. So it is 3rd and 18 from the 40. Wobbly pass was deflected, intended for Art Monk.
Well, they're pouring in there pretty good.
Alan Page putting a lot of heat on.
And they're running stunts, and we'll see that as the game goes along. They're quite effective. Especially with a 28-point lead. You can take chances.
A 1-yard run by Robert Newhouse has evened up the Giant game, 14-14, 10 minutes left in the half. 4th and 18, and Mike Connell punting from midfield. Glenn Walderside standing on the Bears' 10-yard line. That's going to hit on the 8 and then dart into the end zone. So the Bears will put it in play, 1st and 10 from their own 20-yard line.
You know, Ben, when I see that last punt, this is a statistic. Mike Bragg has only punted 1 touchback all year, and he's kicked out of bounds 15 times.
Hey, for the Washington offensive unit, that's Wilbert Jackson, along with John McDaniel, being consoled on the sideline. They haven't been able to move the ball a few times. They've gotten it. And meanwhile, the Bears have just run wild, scoring 28 points. 28-0 Chicago, and the Bears have it 1st and 10 on the 20. Payton and Harper behind Evans, and they go slot left. Walter Payton hurdling over Harper, but that slowed him down, and he stacked up at the 20. He tried to clear Harper's block. He couldn't do it.
Well, what Evans will probably do with this situation, he will throw on running downs, which is most effective in a running situation. He'll still keep the running game going so they can't tee off and play pass defense.
You know what must be a bitter pill to swallow when you think of Jack Pardee over there at Washington. Pardee was the head coach here for 3 years. 27 of the 45 Bears were coached by Jack Pardee, and they've come back to haunt him. Here's Payton. And Payton grabbed by Milot at the 25-yard line, then fights his way out to about the 27.
Now, Ben, that's a real good call with a quarterback like Evans, a rollout, sprint-out quarterback. This is what we call a Baltimore late. He gives the ball to Payton coming through, fakes to the fullback. Now he can keep that ball himself and roll out. Picked up good yardage.
Talking about picking up good yardage, Payton was held to only 30 yards last week. In 1975, the LA Rams held him to 2 yards. So how is he doing today? Payton has already rushed for 62 yards. He has caught a touchdown pass, and he has rushed for a touchdown, and here he goes again. He got outside slightly, getting around Duszek and obscuring is the first down marker, but he picked it up and going by.
You know,
so Walter Payton having a day.
You're speaking of Payton's yardage. I think that Payton is one back that has a chance to break Jim Brown's all-time rushing record. He's averaging about 94.5 yards per ball game. And the Bears have not been that successful a football team.
Next week, the people in Chicago will be in for quite a treat.
Oh.
They'll look at Walter Payton against Earl Campbell.
And when those two guys get together, it's a personal duel.
1st and 10 on the Bear 33, leading 28-0. Vince Evans with time, and he has his man. It's the tight end Fisher, and he's down at the 38-yard line. Look at the 42.
Now, Ben, he did exactly what I said. Here's 1st and 10, throwing the football on a running down. The best time to throw a football, strategy-wise, is 1st and 10.
This is Bob Fisher, the rookie out of SMU, the backup to Robin Earl. And this is a big dude. Boy,
Yes.
he can move.
They got two tight ends that are as big as tackles, and they don't use them very much.
1st and 10 on the Washington 42-yard line. And it's Roland Harper, and stacked up at the 40-yard line.
You know, Harper mentioned something in the pregame show about Payton. Payton's a good blocker. A lot of great running backs do not block, don't want to block, and they can't block. Payton's also a good blocker.
You know, that reminds me when we worked with Jimmy Brown, and one time you said to Brown about, you know, a great running back not being much of a blocker, and he said, hey, you don't ask a thoroughbred to pull a wagon. Of course, that was Jim Brown's reaction.
Yeah.
2nd and 8 from the Washington 40-yard line. James Scott wide right, Ricky Watts goes left, and Robin Earl comes off to a wingback. Evans going to release it to Harper, and he's going to be dropped in his tracks. A hard hit by Brad Duszek knocked him back at the 48-yard line.
Now, in spite of that being a loss, Evans showed me something. He wanted to go downfield. The Redskin defense had him covered, and he dumped it off to the back. That's progression. A young quarterback usually follows one receiver all the way. Theismann has reached the point. There's the receiver. See? Waving at him, saying, hey, throw it to me. But he didn't see him, so now he dumps it off.
So it is a 3rd and 15 from the 47, and Vince Evans, I believe, called time.
Yes.
Timeout Bears.
The other thing I started to say is Theismann has reached the point where he is throwing to the open receiver.
The Bears are leading 28-0. They have a 3rd and 15 on the Washington 47. Slot left, Bassnagel is inside Watts, and Scott is wide right. Both backs release, and Evans going high and deep and off the hands of Jarris White, intended for James Scott, and he was double termed with Mark Murphy.
Well, the Redskins dogged, Malott dogged. Evans saw the dog, had time, they picked it up. He just threw it long, which is a smart thing to do. If it's intercepted, it's sometimes better than a punt.
At halftime, besides the scores of all the other ball games, Brent will have a look at the great unknowns, and I think among others he'll take a look at Portland State, one of the small colleges that features some outstanding young players. That's Mike Nelm standing on the Washington 10-yard line. Up in front of him is Art Monk. And a poor punt goes straight up in the air. It'll come down on the 30 and then take a bare bounce. And look at the roll for Chicago. Inside the 5.
you can do is let a ball bounce. You never let a ball bounce. You come up and signal for a fair catch in a crowd and take the ball where you catch it.
The Bears have a poor kick from Bob Parsons, but as George Allen pointed out, Washington played it poorly, failing to call for a fair catch, letting the ball roll, and it went all the way to the Washington 1-yard line. 1st and 10 for Theismann. He'll go to Clarence Harmon, and he gets out to about the 3.
Well, they have 2 tight ends in there. The Redskins have 2 tight ends to try to get field position. There's Parsons, 86, gets a bad punt and ends up to be a great punt.
He's been averaging 40 yards a punt, as long as 61, but because of the bounce, it winds up to be a 49-yard punt.
What I've found out over the years, that if you let a ball bounce, you lose between 15 and 20 yards on the roll every time.
In the second quarter, the New York Giants 21.
We can duck in a score now. As you can see, Pittsburgh with Tampa Bay hanging tough. Pittsburgh leading Tampa Bay 17-14. St. Louis on the scoreboard early against Atlanta. That was a quick hit for the Birds to get out in front. Big game for the Falcons.
Yes, the Falcons have to win to stay pace with the Rams. They've been playing good football. They came from behind last week 14-0 in Buffalo and won.
Oh, to 2nd and 8 from the 3-yard line for Theismann. We have 3:47 to the half. Hardeman gets out to about the 5-yard, maybe the 4.
Well, I'll tell you one more thing that bothers you in here on defense. Joe probably can't do it now. It's 3rd down. But play action and go deep is a good call in here. Might not even be bad here. No, it wouldn't be, because it's 3rd down and 7. The play action shouldn't fool them on defense. But sometimes you're a little bit too conservative in coming out of the hole, whereas a good play action fake and a deep pass gets you your field position.
Hey, you can see the Giants leading Dallas again, 21-14. Phil Simms to George Martin. Martin, normally in defense, lined up as an end and caught a 1-yard touchdown pass. There's a completion from Theismann to Art Monk out to the 20-yard line to get away from the goalpost.
Good call, good execution. This is what I call get the 1st down. Theismann sets up, drop back, watch his head. He's looking at Monk all the way. Monk goes down, gets the required distance. Make sure you're a yard behind what you have to make. Comes back a little bit, turns it upfield. They're working on Schmidt over there. They've gone on Schmidt, number 44, when they want to pick up some key yardage.
1st and 10 on the 19. Theismann getting heat from Hartenstein, Campbell, and Page. Throws and completes it to Harmon, and he's at the 35-40. Ellis chasing him. Allen Ellis knocks him out of bounds at the 46, and there's a flag on the play, way back on the 10-yard line.
I'll tell you what, that's a great play by Theismann. He turns, he reverses his field twice here. They're dogging. He's rushed. He keeps his poise. Now watch him turn around, gets out, and that turns again.
I think it might be on Ted Albrecht holding Alan Page.
And Harmon makes a good catch. Harmon is an underrated football player. A good runner with the ball, very elusive.
Let's check. We were saying Ted Albrecht and Alan Page. Of course, that wouldn't work. We'll check the holding. If it's 64.
Holding, number 64.
Yeah, so I just had the number. It's 64 Ron Saul as opposed to Ted Albrecht, who will just love me for mentioning his name after what happened with Lyle Alzado.
There's Saul. He's got him by the arm there. Right there. Almost a takedown. If it were wrestling, he'd get 2 points.
Neil Armstrong basking in the glow of a 28-0 lead. 1st and 19 from the 10-yard line. Ricky Thompson in motion to be picked up by Allen Ellis. And they go to Bobby Hammond to the 15 and out to about the 19-yard line. Bensick and Muckensturm there.
Then that's a tough break. You got a big play to get out of the hole, and you get called for holding. However, the Bears last week were penalized 12 times for 75 yards.
With a minute and 59 left to the half, it is 28-0 Bears. On the sideline, Ted Albrecht visiting with Roland Harper. Albrecht took a bit of a tongue lashing from Lyle Alzado after Monday night's game in Cleveland, being accused of so much holding. But of course, Alan Page was just held by Ron Saul. Penalties play a very big part, of course, for any team. It should be noted that the Washington Redskins have been penalized more than any other team in the NFL. It is 2nd and 10 from the 19 for Joe Theismann. Theismann trying to throw while in the grass. There's a flag on the play, and Hardiman is brought down at the 32-yard line. So we'll see about that.
Joe got out of that under the old rule. I don't know what they call it. In the old rule, they let him throw that ball. They may declare that he was down, no holding on defense. But a scrambler like Joe and Bradshaw, people like that, Burt Jones, the new rule hurts a quarterback like that because he can make some plays on his own.
The holding is against Heron, Bruce Heron of Chicago. By the way, you notice that Buddy Hardiman and Bobby Hammond have been in there and not Wilbert Jackson. The report on Wilbert Jackson is he has a sprained right shoulder.
13 yards on the completion.
So it is 1st and 10 on the Skins' 32-yard line. We have a minute and 49 to the half. Art Monk goes wide right. Ricky Thompson goes wide left. Both backs releasing. Theismann throwing to Monk, and he has it in midfield and goes into Chicago territory at the 49. Art Monk is quite a guy. He has been the leading receiver for Washington, and Monk came in here with 33 catches, yet he has started only 3 games, and he has been on the other end 4 times today. A flag, so we'll see if the clock has run down on Theismann. Let's check.
False start,
False
number
start.
73 on the offense.
That's what happens when you try to go on sound, try to go on the first sound of the quarterback's voice. Somebody's usually rocking on offense.
So the Skins penalized again. Just to further that note, coming into this game, they had been penalized 627 yards, most in the NFL.
You know, there's about 12 series in a ball game. An average of 12 series in a ball game. If you get penalized 12 times, you're getting 1 penalty in every drive. You stop yourself.
Theismann on a 1st and 15 cranks up and going deep, in and out of the hands. Terry Schmidt over there to defend. And with that, let's get an update and go to New York.
He had him open on that. He underthrew him.
All right, thank you very much, Vin Scully and George Allen. A big surprise in the Meadowlands. Tied at 14, watch 75. It's the old tackle-eligible George Martin. A defensive lineman scores for the Giants, and now they lead the Dallas Cowboys 21-14, and the Giants have just had a 4th touchdown called back by a penalty. Let's send you back to Vin Scully.
Okay, Brent. So when the tackles are suddenly tackle eligible and fooling the Dallas Cowboys, they've got a big story in the Meadowlands. We'll see the Giants in Green Bay next week, George.
Yes.
2nd and 15 from the 46. Theismann over the middle, busted up, and angry as Heron. He was going head-to-head with the tight end, Don Warren.
See, Joe Theismann's in his 2-minute drill. He's one of the best. We've seen him win some games and move the team the length of the field. I think a year ago in Cleveland, they were behind. He moved the team the length of the field to beat Cleveland. What he's doing is, right in that last play, was to get the 1st down, run a stop pattern, get the 1st down, and then move on from there.
Vince Evans resting on the sidelines. It has been a big day for him. He's halfway through. He has led the Bears to a 28-0 lead. Theismann giving to Hardiman, and Buddy fumbles the ball, and the Bears recover. Gary Fensick, number 45, recovered the loose ball for the Chicago Bears.
Well, here it is. A sweep. Both guards pull. Let's see how he's carrying that football. He's got a pretty good hole there. Saul out in front of him. Walterscheid went for the arm, went for the elbow. He didn't have the ball securely put away. Here it is again. See him go for the arm and the elbow and just jar the ball loose. That's called beating yourself, Ben.
That's the third turnover for Washington. The Bears lead 28-0. It's 1st and 10 on the Bear 47. And they'll go slot left with Bashnagel inside Scott. And Evans once more. No good. Broken up at the last minute by Joe Lavender, intended for Brian Bashnagel.
That was almost picked off. But again, he's throwing on 1st down, which is the best down to throw on.
Washington had a string of 9 straight games coming up with at least 1 interception. That was snapped against Minnesota last week. And Evans so far has avoided the arrow of interception. Theismann has surrendered 1. Evans is 6 for 10, 149 yards and 2 touchdowns. 2nd and 10 on the Bear 47. Payton and Williams both release. Evans passing to Bashnagel, who goes out of bounds. Well, he didn't step out. He went down inside the 40.
He got the 1st down.
The clock is still running, and they're going to have to ask for a time. And Bashnagel, I'm not sure if he's not angry for not stepping out of bounds or what.
Yeah, this is what we call a steal pattern. Evans hits the man underneath, running about a 14-yard out, and the flanker's clearing out, going deep. Lavender had the flanker covered man for man.
Oh, I see what he's angry about. Ricky Watts was coming back to block and got in his way.
Yeah. Mark Murphy and Lavender make the tackle. But 1 more 1st down, they're in field goal range.
On the sideline, Gary Campbell intercepted a pass that led to a Bear touchdown. And down on his knee, Gary Fensick, who had his nose in on a fumble recovery moments ago. Meanwhile, Neil Armstrong huddling with Vince Evans, trying to get a few more points in 43 seconds.
You know, Ben, what we haven't seen, but with a quarterback like Vince Evans, a quarterback draw, any play designed where he can just turn it on and run is a tremendous thing, and this is a good area to field.
But George, isn't that an unnecessary risk to have your quarterback run leading 28-0?
Could be, but he's a pretty good athlete. He's tough. He works out the year round. You never have enough points in the National Football League.
The Bears have actually had the ball fewer plays than Washington, but of course the big reason the Bears have hit on a couple of big plays. 1st and 10 from the 32. Evans getting protection and throws high to Williams, who makes a good catch at the 25-yard line and is brought down by Monty Coleman at the 25. 32 seconds to the half. 2nd and 3. Williams and Payton behind Evans. The backs release. Evans got away at the last minute, and he's inside to the 15 and goes down at the 14. He got away from Toy Bacon.
He's a good runner. He's a strong runner. All he needs is experience. That's all. And he's getting it.
Vince Evans, who went to the University of Southern California, if you have a good memory, you might remember he was the most valuable player in the 1977 Rose Bowl. It saw SC upset Michigan 14-6. He was a 6th-round draft choice, and of course he had that terrible staph infection that settled in his hip, and there are a lot of people to this day figure it's miraculous that he's just up walking around, never mind playing professional football.
That's right. There was question whether he'd even make it. You know, we were talking about great backs and blockers, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Larry Brown, but he always blocked for his running mate.
We had the quote attributed to Jack Pardee early in the game about how awful it would be to come back here before a lot of friends and have the team fall on its face. Well, the Redskins still have a half to make up for it, but they have been buried under an onslaught 28-0. And And with 12 seconds to the half part, D is worrying about a couple of more points. Evans has gone to the sidelines to huddle with Neil Armstrong, and now he'll bring the play into the huddle.
You got time for 2 passes if you throw the right type, and then still have time to kick a field goal.
Evans is 8 for 12, 177 yards and 2 touchdowns. He has it 1st and 10 on the Washington 12-yard line. And Evans in the end zone, touchdown. James Scott. Would you believe 34-0?
Scott beat White. Scott beat Jerris White. White's playing him too loose down in there. Evans drilled it in.
So in other words, the Chicago Bears have now scored more points in the first half today than they have scored in the first half in 9 previous games total.
There it is. See, White was way off of him. You got to play him tight in there. Clamp him. He had the good protection. The Bear offensive line is giving him excellent protection today.
That told it all. Vince Evans hugging James Scott. And the point after is good. Well, the Bears are leading the Redskins 35-0. Back in 1940, the Bears beat Sammy Baugh, broke his heart in the nation's capital 73-0. Georgia halfway there.
Well, we beat the Bears in Washington one year when I was coaching 42-0. Last game of the season.
1974.
Yes.
Well, the Bears are trying to return the favor. 35-0 Chicago. 7 seconds left in the half. Remember, the Bears, of course, feel that they are still slightly alive.
Here's another shot of the touchdown. 12 seconds to play. Evans has good protection. Here's one-on-one. See, he still has plenty of time to throw. He's following them all the way. White was way off of him. All he had to do was make the catch.
A couple of very important ball games since the Bears are way out in front. You have to remember, the Bears going in were 3-6. Tampa Bay 4-4. Minnesota 4-5. And Detroit leading the pack 6-3. But the Bears have to play Detroit, among others, and have a chance to catch them.
And Detroit's kind of faltering. Detroit's not playing like they were earlier in the year. They've had some injuries to their offensive line.
A knuckleball kickup, and that'll be returned at the 35-yard line. And that's where Washington will put it in play. And we're down to 1 second.
Then I'd throw a bomb. I'd throw the ball 50 yards downfield and hope. All you can do, you're 35 points behind. Now you got to throw caution to the wind.
It's important to the Bears that Tampa Bay should lose. Well, we can see that Terry Bradshaw just hit Lynn Swann for a 23-yard touchdown. And Pittsburgh is leading Tampa Bay 24-14. So that's a big game.
Right. 9-7 will probably make the playoffs under the wild card system as it is now.
1st and 10 on the 30. Theismann looking left, and he's going to scramble, and Hartenstein had him by the ankles, dropped him at the 30-yard line, and time has run out. A standing ovation for the Bears as they come off the field. That's the end of the first half. The Chicago Bears 35. The Washington Redskins nothing.
Back live in New York, I'm Brent Musburger with Irv Cross. Long-suffering Bear fans may have finally found a quarterback. Meanwhile, Danny White of the Dallas Cowboys has served up 4 interceptions, and the Giants now lead the Cowpokes 28-21 in the second. The game you're watching, would you believe it, at the half, 35-0, Bears over the Skins. Pittsburgh has snapped back on Tampa Bay, 24-14, a double ricochet pass, a luck of the draw to Lynn Swann. San Francisco leading Green Bay. They miss an extra point, 22 yards to Berg to Solomon. The point after was blocked. Cleveland and Brian Sipe, they beat the Bears Monday night. Now they lead Baltimore 14-0 in the first. Charles White from 5 yards out, and Brian Sipe a 35-yarder. Detroit and Minnesota scoreless in the second, and St. Louis leading Atlanta 14-3 now in the first. And Irv, we've got some marvelous highlights on that Dallas Giant game. A little bit of everything has happened. Now, first of all, Danny White is playing with a sore left shoulder. Not a throwing arm, but it appears to have affected him, Irv.
Well, yes, he came into this game only throwing 9 interceptions. There's one right there, picked up by Van Pelt.
Then Sims went back and hit Ernest Gray for the score. But the Cowboys came back. Beautiful run by TD Tony Dorsett.
Oh, boy, you know, he might have gone on this. Now, watch what happens. He gets...
There he is, in for the touchdown, the 11 yards. We're going to show you that play in just a moment. From the shotgun in the end zone, Mike Dennis of the Giants is going to pick this one off. And a short time later, Larry Heater scored. Or who in the world is Larry Heater of the Giants?
We have a rookie out of Arizona.
Well, I'll tell you, who are these guys in that Giant backfield? Tom Landry and the Cowboys have to say. Now, here's the play that Irv referred to. Watch this. Dorsett breaks up the middle.
Quick trap right up the middle. Now, watch his speed. Now, he adjusts his gears here as he cuts back. Almost gets in, knocked down at the 1-yard line. And
Newhouse scored. But then it was White having difficulty again. Underthrowing his man, Brad Van Pelt. And Sims went to George Martin, a tackle eligible, number 75, for the touchdown. And a little bit later, it was Sims in action again, and he's got the howitzer working for him, and that set it up for the Giants. They got this touchdown, and it's 28-21. Giants over the Cowboys, who came right on back with this beautiful screen pass to Ron Springs, who broke free right up the middle.
Right on time, because the Giants were in a blitz. Even though they're in a 3-man rush, Springs with his speed goes all the way.
Now, meanwhile, in Soldier Field, this play got the Bears ignited. Peyton up the middle, 51 yards. Do you realize that Peyton had only 1 touchdown this season coming into the game? Vince Evans then went to the great Scott for 40 yards and the second touchdown within 6 minutes against the Redskins.
You know, Vince Evans threw the ball 13 times in the first half, completed 9 for 189 yards, 3 touchdowns.
Jerry Campbell picked off a pass for the Bears as Joe Theismann tried to light a fire through a wobbler, and he got it back to the Skin 3-yard line. They went away from Peyton, and it was Roland Harper, the fullback. And just how good can Vince Evans be as we see him hit Walter Payton here?
He's got a strong arm, but I really think he's the strongest quarterback in football. He's a weightlifter, you know. He lost that one out there without any problem, and of course, wonderful Walter takes it in.
All right, now you are looking at Atlanta, St. Louis, and Jim Hart pulls out and goes to the free agent Chris Cones for the score.
The Falcons are really concerned about the Cardinals' passing game. They have a great defense, but if they have a weakness at all, this guy here will find it, Jim Hart.
And here's one of those receivers, Pat Tilley. Not very big, not very fast, but he'll beat you. And it's 14-3 Cardinals over the Falcons. How about San Francisco and Green Bay? Bear fans are wondering, what about the Packers? So here it is, Steve DeBerg, 20 yards, Solomon for the touchdown, and the point after was no good. There's just one man in the country who had a better week than Ronald Reagan. We're going to come back and tell you about him as we take a look at the great unknowns as the NFL Today continues on CBS after these messages from your local stations.
It's predictable. Go to a movie about...
Welcome back to the NFL Today in New York. And you know, a couple of weeks ago, we showed you likely Heisman Trophy candidates. And today, we're going to look at some of the great unknowns. Now, these are a handful of the best players you probably never heard of who are likely to go very high in the NFL draft to clubs who are warmed by the thought that history sometimes repeats itself. Few NFL clubs took notice when this young man graduated from SMU in 1954. But when he retired from the NFL, everyone knew all about Raymond Berry. In 1961, the Los Angeles Rams drafted this prospect from obscurity in South Carolina. He soon was appointed the Secretary of Defense, David Deacon Jones. But perhaps the greatest success story involving an unknown player centered on this 1954 University of Louisville star. The hope of finding another Johnny Unitas excites men like Gil Brandt of the Dallas Cowboys.
As a scout, there's a great deal of self-satisfaction when you can find players at smaller schools that go on to star.
The stars are shining ever so brightly in the small college ranks this year, like Sam Green, wide receiver for the University of Nevada at Las Vegas. He's the owner of a great pair of hands, and he has that big play ability.
He's a John Jefferson type of receiver, and this is what everybody's looking for in our wide-open game today.
There's no such thing as too many great running backs. And number 31, Clifford Chapman, demands respect. He has rushed for better than 3,000 yards in his career at Central State University in Edmond, Oklahoma.
The amazing thing about Clifford Chapman is he's almost 6'2", 225 pounds, and he holds the NAI record for the 100-meter dash in his area.
On defense, remember the name of Don Washington, a Texas A&I safety. He's picked off 17 passes in his college career.
He's big, he's fast, and he has a unique ability of being able to close on a receiver. he will be one of the first defensive backs taken in the country come May when the draft is held.
But perhaps the first unknown to be drafted this year will be Portland State's record-setting quarterback.
Neil Lomax undoubtedly will be the surprise of the draft. He is big, he's strong, he's smart, he's got mobility. He reminds me a lot of Roger Staubach. He has the ability to make a team a contender within a few years. He has great ability for a small college player.
And Irv Neal had quite a night for Portland State.
Quite a night. He threw for 311 yards, 8 touchdowns, ran for 1 more, and Portland State defeated Delaware 105-0.
And he only completed 16 passes against Delaware State. And as Irv said, 8 of them for touchdowns. Now let's send you back to the stadium and the game you're enjoying on CBS.
You do about a team that is consistently week after week after week being penalized and, as you say, lack of concentration.
Well, you can't tolerate it in practice. When it happens in practice, you lengthen practice another 10 minutes. You do it right. You do it the right way, or we'll stay out here all night.
The St. Louis Cardinals jumped on top of the Atlanta Falcons, and they lead them 13-3 in an explosive first quarter in St. Louis. 3rd and 8 from the Washington 33. Both backs release. High over the hands of the intended receiver, John McDaniel, and almost picked off.
It was a little too high. Joe had good protection there. Bears had a good rush, but Redskin offensive line picked him up, and he had good protection. Plenty of time to throw in that.
Oh, Mike Connell standing on the Washington 20-yard line. Deep for Chicago. Len Walterscheid at the 30, flanked by Brian Basnagel and Matt Suey. Getting it away, and it will be Walterscheid, and grabbed immediately at the 35-yard line, and down he goes, hit by Kenny Harrison.
Now you see, Walterscheid showed good judgment. That was a short kick. He came up, had a run up like a center fielder, caught the ball, didn't let it bounce.
Number 38 banged up on a punt, and then later on he was hurt on a tackle. And if he can play, the Skins are really hurting. He's their number 2 pass receiver. In fact, he has piled up more yardage receiving passes than rushing.
You know, one of the reasons he made the team, we had 2 guys, 2 rookies, Ralph Nelson and Clarence Harmon. Harmon never missed practice and played with bumps and bruises, and that's why I picked him over Ralph Nelson.
1st and 10 on the Bear 39. Loose ball, and Payton is down on the ground with it. Vince Evans swallowed up. He's a tough play.
He's a competitor. It looks like he hurt his leg. Looks like it's the calf of his leg.
There's Doug Plank, who has a bad knee. In fact, they didn't think he would even start today, but as usual, Doug is out there. A 12th round draft choice back in '75 when he came out of Ohio State. Boy, what a warrior he's been for the Bears.
He sure is.
2nd and 10 on the 39 for Vince Evans, enjoying a big day, and the Bears go slot left. Watts inside Haynes. Over the middle, out of the hands of the intended receiver. The tight end Fisher couldn't hold on to it.
You know what happened there? He threw the ball very hard. He's got such a strong arm. Sometimes a strong arm quarterback will put a little bit too much on the ball. There was only a distance of about 10 yards. Came too hard and was deflected. Ben, what was the injury report on Harmon?
We didn't get it, just a bad knee. He was limping over there. It was Wilbur Jackson. We got the report of sprained shoulder. There's Harmon still trying to get well.
I hope it's not his knee. Looks like it's more of an ankle or calf.
Let's see what Evans does 3rd down. He was better than 50% in completing 3rd downs prior to today. And it's 3rd and 10 from the Bear 39. Over the middle, he has Williams, who juggles it right into the hands of Milot. And Milot running backwards, is going to be dragged down at the 40-yard line. But he did come up with the ball. Vince Evans muttering to himself. The ball went out of Williams' hands right into Rich Mylott.
Williams should have had that. But again, the ball is thrown a little bit hard, and I think it's behind him. See that? It's behind him, so that he never really had possession of the ball. Good play by Mylott.
Tim Mazzetti has just kicked a 44-yard field goal to make it St. Louis 17, Atlanta 6, with 10:58 remaining in the second quarter in that big Cardinal-Falcon game.
Then this is the first time the Redskins have had good field position.
1st and 10 on the Skin 45, and the pass is to Art Monk. He's into Bear territory, faking everybody out, and Monk is to the 35, to the 30. Terry Schmidt trying to get an angle, and Schmidt knocks him out of bounds at the 15-yard line. Great reception by Art Monk, the rookie from Syracuse.
Art Monk. There's Art Monk in the box at the bottom of your screen, left side. This shows his running ability after the catch. Theismann setting up the pass.
On the play. 1st and 10, Redskins at the 15.
Bears are dogging. There's 58. Muckerstrong coming in. Now watch Monk run with the football. It's just a hook pattern, a missed tackle. He uses 85 Warren as a blocker. Schmidt knocks him out of bounds.
44 yards on that pass. 1st and 10 from the 15. Theismann is scrambling, and he's down to the 10, and he'll go out of bounds inside the 8-yard line. So he picked up about 7 yards on that scramble. Take another look at Joe.
Well, Joe is running more than I've seen him in quite a while. Of course he has to. And right here, he uses good judgment, gets out of bounds, and not take that pounding.
So the ball is on the Bears' 7-yard line. That makes it 2nd and 2 on the 7. And it is 40 inside the 5 to about the 3, so he picked up the first down. It'll be 1st and goal, Skins.
This could give the Skins a big lift if they can score in here.
And remember, it all started on the first turnover. Vince Evans throwing an interception into the hands of Rich Mylott that went out of the hands of Dave Williams, the intended receiver. And Washington burned on 3 turnovers in the first half, now trying to return the favor.
Bears just put in their jumbo defense, 6 defensive linemen.
1st and goal.
A run defense.
Klatt and Forte behind Theismann. They go to Ricky Klatt, and they stack him up. At the bottom of the play was Fensick and Hartenstein. Fensick very slow to get up, but he's okay.
That defense that the Bears have in right now is very vulnerable to the pass.
And Fensick is not okay. Len Walderscheid has to come in for him. So Gary Fensick, who had to submarine that play, is shaken up and comes out. And Doug Plank has a bad knee. So that great 1-2 punch pretty well banged up for the Bears. But Plank is in there on the left side. Forte and Walker go wide right. Theismann looking right and releasing to Klatt for the touchdown.
Well, that's what I said. That defense is very vulnerable to the pass. You got 6 rushmen in there. The Redskins went into a slot formation, forcing one-on-one coverage. Theismann wisely hits. Here it is. The back, wide open. Nobody covered him.
That's the rookie Ricky Klatt from Bethune-Cookman. Handling that reception, so Washington gets on the scoreboard. For Klatt, that's the 3rd pass he has caught. It's his 2nd touchdown, the other one rushing. And the kick is good. So with 8 minutes and 42 seconds left to go in the 3rd quarter, the Redskins capitalize on a Rich Mylott interception and go on to score. It's 35-7 Bears. It is 35-7 Bears with 8:42 left in the third. Chicago kicking off to Washington. Gary Fensick, you saw come out on the goal line stand, and the report is he twisted his foot. They do expect Fensick to come back in. So Washington kicking to Chicago. Dave Williams is deep on the 5. Matt Suey on his right. Willie McClendon on his left. Mosley's kick will be fielded by Williams at the 2. To the 15. Upended and down he goes. Mike Nelms hit him at the 12, and he went forward for a few.
And there's a late flag. Good high kick by Mark Mosley. And good coverage by the Redskins special teams.
Mike Nelms, who does his share of returning punts, will be down there to make the tackle, number 21. He'll come into your picture in a hurry. There he is, just getting around McClendon's block, and he upends Dave Williams. Good play for Mike Nelms.
You know, the new special team coach on the Redskins is Ted Fritsch. He has a lot of enthusiasm. I think he'll make a good coach.
Coming from you, that's praise indeed.
Well, he enjoys football. Penalty is on the Redskins. That's that late hit, I believe.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 22 on the defense. First down.
So everything going backwards for the Skins. The Bears will put it in play 1st and 10 on the 33. Another important game. That's that Detroit-Minnesota game. Tom Kramer, a 67-yard pass to Ted Brown. Minnesota leading Detroit 10-0. That would sure tighten up the Central Division.
That win against the Redskins last week gave the Vikings a lot of confidence.
1st and 10 from the 34. And they'll try Roland Harper, and he puts his head down and gets out to about the 37. Vince Evans, so far today, 9 for 15, 189 yards, and 3 touchdowns.
You know, the Redskins aren't substituting that mass substitution on defense like they have in the past, Ben.
In fact, Jack Pardee was quoted as saying he thought they were just out-slickered by Minnesota last week, and the mass substitution had something to do with it. 2nd and 7 from the 37. Evans throwing to the tight end, Fisher coming across, and he's going to be wrestled down by Mark Murphy at the 35-yard line. Here's a report on the Cleveland-Baltimore game coming in. Charles White has just gone 5 yards for a touchdown. That's his second 5-yard touchdown run today. It is 21-6 Cleveland in the second quarter.
Cleveland has to win to keep pace with the Houston Oilers.
We were talking before about how teams usually lose having played Chicago. Cleveland is trying to shatter that theory. 3rd and 5 from the 39. Roland Harper getting out to the 41. That's not enough. He has to get just about to the 44.
Well, you see now the momentum in this game has changed a little bit. The Bears haven't done a thing this half. The Redskins stopped them. There's still plenty of time. They should have decent field position if they get a return here. Anything can happen. And you got to believe that way. You can't believe you're playing out the clock.
Bob Parsons, 4 years ago, he set a Bear record. He punted 99 times. That's Mike Nelms on the 15. And Parsons is running from the 40, and he has got the first down. Fumbled the ball, but I believe the Bears recovered it anyway.
Well, you know what?
Muckenstern.
The Redskins had the punt block on. They're right in there. And the reason that he fumbles, the reason that he ran with the football is because there's 2 men right in on him, Ben. This is a good time to put the punt block on. Here it is. Good snap. See that?
Jerry
White right in there. Now he runs with the ball, just gets the first down, fumbles.
First and 10, Bears at the 47.
That's the second rushing play for Bob Parsons this year. The other play, he just did get back to the line of scrimmage, but this time he picks up the first down.
That's a tough break for the Redskins.
And a big play for the Bears. First and 10 on the Bear 47, and Vince Evans is back in business again.
Those two rushers got a little too deep. They went beyond them instead of in front of them.
Play action fake to Harper. And the release juggled by James Scott, but he held on to it before going out of bounds at the 35.
Lamar Parrish fell down on that play. He thought he was going deep.
Bob Parsons hurting his right hand on that tackle and testing the wrist, as you can see.
If the two punt rushers had gone in front, a yard in front, he might have tried to kick the ball. They went a little bit deep, allowed him to come up the gut and run, then branch to the outside.
So it's first and 10 on the Washington 35-yard line. Evans handing to Walter Payton. And Payton tripped up. Both Roland Harper and Reeve Sorey trying to lead the play.
Ben, that's that off-tackle sweep that Harper was talking about. It starts wide like it's going to be a sweep. It's an off-tackle play. He can go either in or outside, depend upon the blocking.
You know, there's a big game going on at the Meadowlands. It certainly didn't appear to be a big game going in. The Giants led 7-0, 14-7. The Giants led 28-14, and Dallas has just scored on a 29-yard run by Robert Newhouse to tie it up 28-28. And they're halfway through the third quarter. Here's Payton, and he's upended just shy of the 25-yard line. So we will repeat that Dallas Giant game, 28-28, with 8:58 in the third quarter.
I'm sure when the Dallas players, the Cowboys, looked at those Giant films, they went in as there's no way we can lose this ball game to the Giants. They're one of the sorriest teams we faced. All at once you're behind 7-0. Then you're behind 14-7. Pretty soon you're fighting for your life.
And they finally caught him 28-all. So it's 3rd and 2 from the 26-yard line for the Bears. Payton and Harper. You have Bassnagel on a wing outside the tight end Fisher. Earl's on the other side, and Harper is stacked up. They had the two tight ends in there, but it didn't look as if he made it.
Good play by the defense, Redskin defense.
The crowd is saying go for it.
Well, the crowd always wants you to go for it. If you listen to the crowd, you'd never punt. You wouldn't have to have a punter.
That's a thought, isn't it? 4th and 1. The ball shy of the 25-yard line. Ricky Watts is coming in, and Brian Bassnagel comes out, and the crowd is happy because they're going to go for it.
I think in this situation, you're ahead. You got a short yard to go. It's a pretty good call.
Out of the eye. Skins are going to be penalized again.
That helps if you don't have to run the play.
A big help.
Oh, yeah.
We don't have the yardage for penalties today, but as usual, it figures prominently in a Washington game.
Well,
I think it was Dyron Talbert, number 72.
Well, Dyron's pretty disciplined. I'm surprised he jumped offside. But again, the tendency is to listen to the quarterback's voice, and when he raises his voice, the inflection of his voice, you think the ball's going to be snapped.
George, that's the 8th time Washington has been penalized. 8 times for 71 yards. The end around to Ricky Watts. He drops the ball, and it's still loose, and Monty Coleman fell on it for Washington.
Now, Vin, I want to tell you something on that. This is the way I feel about that. You got this game under control. You don't need to pull any reversers or anything fancy like this. In fact, there was almost a fumble on the exchange. Lorch had Payton. That's being too smart.
And now Watts is going to drop it, and Monty Coleman will recover for Washington. The Bears leading the Redskins 35-7. I'm Vin Scully along with George Allen. Second turnover as Monty Coleman recovered the fumble by Ricky Watts, and the Skins 1st and 10 on their own 37. Theismann to Ike Forte, and he'll go down as he crosses the 40-yard line.
And then you said second turnover in 2 possessions the second half.
Right, George. A score coming in now, Atlanta and St. Louis. Otis Anderson has just busted from 8 yards out to make it 24-6 St. Louis. Meanwhile, San Francisco and Green Bay, Turdell Middleton went out from 1 yard to make it 13-10 San Francisco as Green Bay gets close. 2nd and 5 from the 42. And they're going to try Forte again, only this time Osborne just eats him up. Osborne putting his arms around him as Vince Evans twice now suffering with turnovers. Remember, he threw a pass that went through Dave Williams' hands. It was intercepted by Rich Milot, and then calling the end around. Although, George, we say calling the end around, I wouldn't imagine Evans is the guy who called it.
They're sending all their plays in. They shuffle their wide receivers. The other thing is everybody runs that reverse around the 30-yard line going in. You can almost count on it.
3rd and 5 on the Washington 42. A little heat by Muckenstern. The pass is complete to Hardiman, and he's going to be dragged down from behind, but not before he crossed the 45. Osborne has been all over the place, and Jim is able to catch him from behind.
Well, Joe did a good job. Bears are dogging. Joe gets the ball off. They made the same mistake that the Redskins made, not covering your first back out tight enough. He runs with the football, makes the first down. The Redskins got something going now.
They move the ball to the 41-yard line of Chicago. 1st and 10. And it's Ricky Klatt across the 40. Dan Hampton is on top of him, and at the bottom is the ever-present Osborne. Osborne's been in the league for 9 years from Southern. On the sideline, Ricky Watts with his head down, because if you remember, on that handoff from Walter Payton, Watts fumbled the ball to give Washington a chance, and they're trying to capitalize on it, so Ricky's a little down.
Speaking of Osborne, I think he's their best all-around defensive lineman.
2nd and 7 on the 38 of Chicago. Thompson and Monk in a slot left. Theismann wants to go left, and it's dropped. It was intended for Monk coming across. He has caught 5 passes today, but he couldn't hold on to that one. He's caught 38 to lead the Redskins, so you figure to see him.
Yes, the ball was just a little bit behind him. Now here it is. He's coming across this seam. There's Joe going back, and he gets jammed just a little bit. That could be one of the reasons Joe threw the ball behind him. He should have caught. Here it is. He knew there was someone there also.
So it is a 3rd and 7 on the 38. Monk and Harrison in a slot left. Theismann under some heat by Page, and Alan Page can't get him. He's got a first down to the 20-yard line and stepped out of bounds at the 18. So Alan Page came close, but no cigar.
I wonder how many yards Joe has today. He's going to be the leading rusher for the Redskins. He's made a lot of big plays. He just outran Page here. Watch Page dive for his shoe tops and misses them. And Joe wisely gets out of bounds.
Answer your question, Theismann has scrambled for 45 yards today, which is more than Jackson and Harmon together. They've both been hurt. They've rushed for 29. So 1st and 10 on the Bear 18. In motion is Warren, the tight end. The back's release, and he is swallowed up by Dan Hampton while in the act of throwing, I believe, and Theismann, with his face in the AstroTurf, slowly getting up.
Well, Theismann's setting up to throw. Now, I don't believe the official rule that this was a pass, even though he's motioning to throw. His arm was not going forward. I've seen guys get their arms hurt like that. When you're extending it backward, the defensive end comes around from behind and hits it, and you sometimes separate his shoulder. He ruled that a fumble.
And it was recovered on the 24-yard line. So 2nd and 16 on the 24. Dan Hampton, who told us about trying to apply heat to Theismann, trying to get at Theismann, and Hampton finally did, blindsiding him as Joe was looking left, and Hampton came over from the right. Theismann so far today is 15 for 24, 183 yards, but only 1 touchdown and 1 interception.
Joe actually has done a good job today. He's been under tremendous pressure. An immobile quarterback would have been sacked today about 4 times. He's gotten out, made the first down, or kept the drive going.
Washington allowed 3 sacks last week, but they've only allowed 13 during the year.
Yes.
Is that really more of a tribute to Theismann and the offensive line without putting anybody down?
Yes. Well, he's throwing quick passes, setting up, throwing short passes, and his ability to run. However, I think their offensive line has been doing a real fine job lately.
Dan Hampton, who just knocked Theismann down, was saying, "I used to be a bull rusher, and I love that. Strength has never been my weakness." 2nd and 16 from the 24. Theismann has the pass over the hands and into the arms of Art Monk, and Monk is driven out on a first down and a goal to go at the 7-yard line.
Well, that proves what we said earlier. When in the clutch, when they need to get some yardage or a first down, they're going after 44 Schmidt. Schmidt's playing them real loose. Look at this. Giving them too much room.
So 1st and goal on the 7.
Either got to give him some help with a linebacker underneath, or he's got to latch onto him a little bit tighter.
Theismann now is 16 for 25, and he has passed for 200 yards. We have 8 seconds left in the 3rd quarter. 35-7 Bears, and the Skins trying to come back. They have Thompson wide left, Monk goes right, Forte in motion right. And Theismann's going to run to the 10, to the 5. He is going to carry it over. Touchdown Theismann. For Joe Theismann, the #1 runner, and he continues to be. That is his 3rd touchdown rushing this year.
Well, showed real good judgment here. A partial rollout. He's looking to his left. Receivers covered. He takes off, outruns the defense for the flag, cuts against the grain. Big play. Redskins are back in this ball game.
It is 35-13 in favor of Chicago. Joe Theismann, the holder, and evidently that right hand is all right. He's able to hold. Mark Mosley, 14 for 16 in points coming in, and he's 2 for 2 today.
You know, Ben, the big thing here is the Bears have made 2 mistakes, and the Redskins have capitalized on them.
That's the end of the 3rd quarter with the score: the Bears 35, the Redskins 14. Pause for a word from your local station. Up at the 35-yard line, and standing deep, Dave Williams. Up in front of Williams on his left is Willie McClendon. On his right is Matt Suey at the 10-yard line, just in case the ball is hit short and to either side.
Then the only first down, we were just talking, the only first down that the Bears made this half was Parsons going back to punt and running with the football.
Talking about running with the football, the Redskin backfield has rushed for 53 yards. Joe Theismann has rushed for 52 yards. And it will be Willie McClendon as it goes into the end zone. So the Bears will put it in play. 1st and 10 on their own 20. The Bears have hit on electrifying plays, 54-yard pass, 51-yard run. So the Redskins have actually had the ball for more plays. 54 plays for the Redskins, 10 fewer for Chicago.
You know, right here, your defense has to think turnover. We've got to take the ball away. We're going to stop them. No question about it. We just got to get that ball for the offense.
And the Bears are going to scrap that end around for a while. Harper and Clayton behind Evans. And they go to Harper. Olkowitz slowed him down, and he was finally knocked down at the last minute by Joe Lavender coming up.
When they're in that formation, then, where the fullback is lined up right behind the center, Harper has carried the ball, I believe, every time. So the Redskins keyed on that very well. Here it is. Here it is, right here. That's the formation where the fullback is right behind the center. He's carried the ball every time. Now, the Redskins are keying this. They actually had him for a 2-yard loss.
2nd and 7 on the 23. Baschnagel and Scott going to slot right. Walter Payton with a block by Harper. He threw the block on Monty Coleman, and Coleman was able to recover from the block and go back to get a piece of Payton going by. Good play by Monty Coleman, number 51. 2 years from Central Arkansas. As you see Neil Armstrong sending in Ricky Watts with another play.
Now, this play may not seem like a big one, but this play could decide the ball game. This is the way I used to think. We got to stop them. Offensively, we got to make it. You don't say, well, we'll have another chance. You got to do it right now.
Well, it is 3rd and 3. The ball on the 27-yard line for the Bears, leading 35-14. Draw. They try to pinch him at the 30, and if Payton got across the 30, he got the first down. It just depends on where they spot it.
If he made it, it's because of his leg drive and power, because he was hit short of the first down.
They're spotting the ball over the 30. That would appear to be just enough, and it is.
See, the Bears are a little cautious now. They ran the ball all 3 downs, Vin.
For the Chicago Bear defensive squad, a chance to rest now, hoping that the offense can keep the ball and try and move it from the 20. It's now at the 30, 1st and 10. Here comes Walter with a block by Reevy Sorey. Sorey blocking on Tony Peters. That made the play work for a few yards.
You know, I like the 2 guards, Reevy Sorey and Noah Jackson. In fact, watch Reevy Sorey, 69 pull. He's big and strong and active enough to lead a sweep.
George, Walter Payton is 1 yard away from a milestone in his career. If you count yardage, receiving, rushing, and run back of kicks, he has 9,999 in his career.
Tremendous.
2nd and 6 on the 34. Here's Harper. And Harper is dropped. Big butts hit him. I
got to meet Payton at a Coach of the Year banquet. I was very impressed with him. He's an unassuming young man and a lot of character, does his job. Doesn't pop off.
Payton so far today has rushed for 87 yards. You remember last week he had only, actually Monday night, he had 30 against Cleveland. It's hard to believe. Back in 1975, the Rams held him to 2 yards. And, of course, he was really just starting out. On a draw, he ran into Carl Lorch, and that's the end of the play.
The Redskins had the best defense for that. They had everybody up. Dogging, blitzing is great to stop the draw. That's why he had to bounce it outside, because all the gaps were filled.
So that was a big play, because now they're going to have to give up the ball.
Right. Let's see if they go after the punter again. Last time they had a chance to block it.
4th and 2 on the Bear 38.
It looks like they're going for it.
Bob Parsons, you remember, he hurt his right wrist. He'll be punting from the Bear 25. Mike Nelms is deep, and the punt is away.
Now they fake the rush.
Nelms at the 25, at the 30, and going to be wrestled down. Skabinski and Baschnagel were down there along with Muckensturm after Matsui almost dropped him in his tracks. 1st and 10 on the Washington 35. It's 35-14 Chicago. It's in 27 seconds left in the game. The Bears leading 35-14. Ted Albrecht taking a needed respite as the offensive team sits down for the Bears. And it's 1st and 10 Washington on the Skin 35. They go slot left with Forte inside Ricky Thompson. Monk goes right. And Theismann is going to go to the tight end, Warren. And he's at the 45, and they will bring him down at the 49-yard line. So Don Warren, the tight end, moves the ball up nicely.
Again, Joe Theismann had good field position starting from the 35, and the momentum has changed dramatically.
So it is 1st and 10 on the Washington 49. Gary Campbell, who picked off a Theismann pass that led to a Chicago touchdown. Number 59, he's played an important part. And Theismann trying to bring the Redskins down, but he has a sizable opponent in the Bears and a formidable opponent in time remaining. 9:44. Monk goes left. And they flip to Harrison, a little screen on the right side, and Kenny Harrison is upended by Gary Fensick at the 41-yard line.
Ben, good call. Easy to throw, easy to execute. Quick screen to your wide man. If he has running ability, we used to use this with Charlie Taylor. Roy Jefferson, it's a very effective pass. In fact, he almost broke it. You should never be sacked on that play. It's like a running play.
So it is 2nd and 1 on the 41. A big pickup of 9 on the screen to Harrison. Monk and Thompson go left. Warren, the tight end, is on the right side. Platt and Forte, and they're going to go to Ike Forte, and he just got the first down. Shearer had him by the leg, but Brad Shearer was unable to stop the first down recovery.
I formation usually equals run. It's a lead play. The fullback, Platt, leading Ike Forte. I guess Harmon's leg must be bothering him, or he'd be in there.
On the sideline, there's Reeve Sori, number 69. Great guards in the league. 1st and 10 on the Bear 39. Monk goes right. Harrison goes left. Theismann looking at Bobby Hammond and then throws it to Art Monk at the 30-yard line. He has to get to the 29, so he picked up a bunch on that reception. We'll see where they spot it.
Well, the receiver, Art Monk, is going downfield 10 to 12 yards and just getting the first down. It's a quick pass for Theismann. If they're dogging, he can still get it off. He's following them all the way. The receiver drives the defender backward and then comes back for the ball. Makes a good catch.
They spotted at the 31, so they picked up 8, and it is 2nd and 2. Pitch back to Hardiman. He gives to Harrison, and the end around is down the tubes again.
In the same area of the field. They almost diagram it on the AstroTurf. Everybody runs that play right in the same area. They wonder why it backfires.
And the Bear offensive team standing on the sideline say, we know how it feels. The only difference is on the Washington end around, they just lost some yardage. On the Chicago end around, they lost the ball.
This is a big play for the Redskin offense, especially. They got to get that first down. Keep this drive going. Get another 7 points.
3rd and 5 on the Bear 34. Page and Coons and Shearer, and there goes Theismann, and he has picked up the first down as he is upended at the 25 by Gary Campbell and rolls to about the 21.
One thing you learn when you're playing against a quarterback like Theismann, and Evans for that matter, is that your end man, whether it's the defensive end, the tackle, or the linebacker, has to come in square to contain him, box him. Theismann got out, ran, pick up the first down.
Theismann has now rushed for 64 yards.
He has a chance for 100 yards.
1st and 10 on the Bear 22, 6 minutes and 11 seconds, and that's the real enemy of Washington now. Ike Forte inside the 20 to about the 16-yard line. Dan Nugent was leading the play.
Theismann, if he keeps going, will outgain Payton today.
Payton has gained 86 yards, Theismann 64. But of course, Joe has passed for 232 yards.
Here comes Ricky Thompson in with a play. I like this Ricky Thompson, Ben. You know, one thing he does well that's sometimes overlooked, is after the catch, he runs well with the football. He's on offense. He isn't some guy that gets tackled.
Well, there's Ricky Thompson going wide right, number 83. Art Monk is almost a tight end on the other side of Don Warren. And Theismann, under some heat, going down the middle in the end zone. Touchdown! A tremendous reception by the man you just talked about, Ricky Thompson, who is shaken up. Terry Schmidt and Doug Plank both hit him, and he still held on to it.
Here's a dimension on Joe Theismann that we talked about earlier that he really improved on. Play action. He wants to go to the weak side. To his left, the defense is right. See him looking over there? They are covered. He comes back to Ricky Thompson, who kept running, which is what you should do. Keep going. You never know when you're going to be the big play man. He guns it in there. He makes a good catch, and he's whacked.
He got hit from Schmidt from behind and Plank from in front, and he somehow held on to it.
He's still down.
Woo.
Shows a lot of character, a lot of guts.
It's 35-20 Bears, and the Skins still have to try and kick the point. Ricky Thompson, 5 years from Baylor, originally drafted by Baltimore. Washington traded for him. What a play.
A lot of good football in this play. Thompson kept running, and now he gets smashed front and back.
And yet held on to the ball for the touchdown, walked off under his own power. Mosley's point is good. We have 5 minutes and 13 seconds left. The Bears 35 and the Redskins 21. A rather miraculous play. There's Ricky Thompson. He's 26 years old. He averaged better than 16 yards of pass reception to be number 1 for Washington. But what a lick he took and somehow walked off the field. Sorry, 6 years from Illinois, one of the prime movers for Walter Payton, and he's ready to gather storm. But right now, Washington back in the game, 35-21 Bears, 5 minutes and 13 seconds left in the game. You have Williams standing on the 5. Matsui is standing on the 25, and everybody else is up. So let's see what kind of a return we have. Mosley kicks a knuckleball down the left side. Matsui trying to get it, and it goes out of bounds. Chris Haynes might have gotten his hands on the ball, and evidently he did.
Yeah, he did.
So Haynes able to touch the ball before it goes out.
Haynes did the right thing, because if the Redskins recover this, of course, it's their football. Even though it might go out of bounds, you can't take that chance. You got to get on the football. Now, you know, we talked about at halftime. You asked me, we ever had this happen? I mentioned Dallas. We led Dallas 28-0, had to hang on 28-21. The Redskin defense, repeating myself, have to stop them. They have to force a turnover to win this ball game with 5 minutes left to play.
5:09 left in the game. Bashnagel goes wide left. They have both Fisher and Earl in there, the two tight ends. They stay on the ground with Payton, and he is upended. Brad Dusick, flag on the play. Dusick was able to get underneath blocks by Fisher and Harper and submarine it.
Now, inversely, the Bear offense has to make a couple of first downs. That's what it amounts to. Good penetration by Lorch. Good penetration by Brad Dusick, I believe. 59. That's the way you play a sweep. Perfect. Low and getting across.
The penalty, as you see on the sideline, Brad Shearer of the Chicago Bears visiting with Jim Osborne. Gee, Osborne has had a tremendous day.
They're talking about when we get back in, we have to rush Theismann. What stunt are we going to run?
Holding number 70 on the offense.
Dennis Lick.
First down.
So now it is 1st and 20 as Haynes and Scott. Haynes and Fisher come out. Watts and Scott come in. Here comes Bashnagel. There you can see the penalties, and of course 8 penalties against Washington. However, the penalties of late now begin to bother Chicago. 1st and 20 from the 14. And they go to Payton. And Payton is upended nicely, and the Skins are very much alive defensively.
Well, you know, up until this series, the Bears had only made 41 yards this half. That's nothing.
The crowd that gave the Bears a standing ovation when they left the field at halftime, a little bit sullen now. They've seen the Redskins score 21 points, and the fact that the Bears playing very conservatively on the ground, that elicited a few boos.
Now it's 2nd down and 17. What do you do? I don't think the Bears have run a screen pass today. I don't remember one.
All right, 2nd and 17 from the 17. Bassnagel is wide left, Scott right. They go to Walter Payton, and Payton is across the 25 and knocked out of bounds just shy of the 30-yard line. For a split second there, I thought Payton was thinking about throwing the ball.
Yeah,
for
that's
one fleeting moment.
Well, the way he runs those sweeps and the way the defense fills on him and forces, even though it's incomplete, it still keeps him honest.
By the way, if you folks wonder about Walter Payton, he has thrown the ball in the NFL. He passed once in 1975. He passed once last year and completed for over 50 yards. So he's 1 for 2 as a passer.
Right here, a first down would really hurt the Redskins because that clock keeps running.
3rd and 4, big play on the 30-yard line. James Scott is left. Bassnagel and Watson a slot right. Evans over the middle, juggled and dropped. The intended receiver, Dave Williams. And it was Williams, you remember, who juggled the ball that was intercepted by Milot.
The Redskins are dogging here. Redskins are blitzing. Throws the ball. It's a little bit behind him, but he should catch it. He jumped for the ball. He didn't have to jump for it.
Walter Payton now has 39 100-yard games. However, he didn't get the yardage that they needed, and the Bears will have to give up the ball. 4th and 4.
Let's see if we get a punt block here.
Mike Nelms all alone on the Washington 35. Parsons gets it away. And we'll see if he interfered on a fair catch. It was Chris Haynes who went down there and bumped into Mike Nelms.
He did. He interfered with him.
So it looks like Nelms was all set to call fair catch, and Chris Haynes in hustling. You can see up there Monty Coleman with him, and he bumped right into him, and the flag immediately thrown.
He lost the football.
So there would be another case.
No foul.
No foul.
The man was pushed into him.
Monty Coleman evidently
pushed him into him.
Accidentally pushed Chris Haynes into the receiver.
There it is.
Watch Coleman, 51.
Well, boy, gosh,
maybe.
If it was a push, it wasn't much of a push.
With 3 minutes and 57 seconds left, Washington is pushing time. It is 35-21 Bears. Now with 3:57 left in the game, 35-21 Bears. Washington 1st and 10 from the 25. In motion is Harrison, picked up by Muckenstern. The pass is low, but picked up by Harrison just about at the 29-yard line.
Well, it comes down to pass offense, pass defense right now. Theismann ran the same play that he did on first down, partial rollout, hitting the wide receiver on a hook pattern, a short pattern to pick up a few yards.
2nd and 5 on the 30-yard line. Jack Pardee, in his first visit back as Washington head coach, was jolted in the first half. The Skins, now trying to make it creditable, have come back with 21. Theismann has time, goes over the middle, and he's got Don Warren, the tight end, who's dropped at the 49-yard line. Herron and Fensick making the tackle.
I tell you what the Bears are doing. The Bears went with a 3-man rush last time.
Flag on the play. And this one against Washington.
That's going to give Joe the time to throw the football. I think it's to the Redskins' advantage that they're going with a 3-man rush if they stay with it.
Very much against the Redskins, however. That reception and completion would have gotten the ball to the Washington 49-yard line.
Holding number 64 on the offense.
And that's Ron Saul. That's the second time he's been caught guilty of holding, and that was a wrecker of a holder because it puts the ball back on the 19-yard line. They really lost 30 yards.
It seems like every time they get a good play, they get a penalty.
So 2nd and 15 on the 19-yard line. Theismann throwing to Forte, who makes a great catch, and if it wasn't for Len Walderscheid, he might have gone with it. Walderscheid tripped him up at the 45, and he fell forward for a couple of more yards.
2:51.
So 1st and 10 on the 48 of Washington.
They have to score this series.
And it looked like Hartenstein was way offside. Mike Hartenstein was across the line before the snap.
When they do that, then they're guessing. See, they're just guessing, anticipating the ball is going to be snapped. That stops the clock for the Redskins, so it's a break.
Start, 63.
Oh, they called it.
Well, I'll be.
They called it on Dean.
So Hartenstein apparently drawn off by Fred Dean.
Smart by Hartenstein. He saw something, got across. You know, George Hallis got an award, USO award here this week, then. Bob Hope came in and made the presentation as Man of the Year with the USO. Great tribute to a great man.
Well, that makes it 1st and 15 on the Washington 43. It's very hard to see through the glass with the sunlight on it, but just to the right of the middle post, you might be able to see Mr. George Hallis. And I believe that's his daughter.
That's his daughter, Virginia McCaskey.
1st and 15 from the 42. Theismann has Forte, and he's going to be bumped out of bounds about a yard to a yard and a half shy of the first down.
The Bears went with the 3-man rush. Defensively, I don't care for the 3-man rush. See, Joe has all time to throw the football. The only time you use a 3-man rush is when you got the game completely out of reach. The best way to play pass defense is come in with 4 or 5, put the pressure on the quarterback.
With 2 minutes and 33 seconds left in the game, it is 2nd and 1. The ball is on the Bear 44-yard line. Harrison goes wide right, Monk goes wide left. Warren, the tight end, on the right side. And Theismann is going for broke. All the way in the end zone, no good. Intended for Art Monk. Len Walderscheid was closer to it. There's a flag, however, on the 25-yard line.
They had him doubled in and out. We call that POW coverage.
Monk acted like someone had interfered with him.
Illegal contact.
They did.
Number 48 on the defense.
That's right. Alan Ellis bumping Art Monk.
And that's why Joe overthrew him. Any contact downfield is automatic first down.
So there is Ellis.
That's a big break. Again, stops the clock, gives them a first down.
Talking about the clock, 2 minutes and 26 seconds left in the game. The Bears 35, the Redskins 21. But it is somewhat of an uneasy lead. The Bears have played a totally different game.
Right. Two opposite halves. And I think the Redskins have all their timeouts.
Yes, according to our notes, they do. So 1st and 10 on the 39-yard line of Chicago. Complete to Monk. He's wrapped up at the 29. Terry Schmidt had him. That's close to the first down. In fact, we'll watch and see if they signal to move the sticks. Yep. They have picked up the first down, 2 minutes and 6 seconds. And Theismann asking the umpire to move off the line. Joe ready under a big rush, and he's going to be sacked. Loose ball recovered by Dan Nugent of Washington.
Well, what Joe wanted the official to do, the clock doesn't stop till the official gets away. See number 7 backing away. He wanted to get him off there and get the play underway.
So we're into the 2-minute warning. 35-21 Chicago. Dave Williams, Walter Payton, Noah Jackson, and the rest of the Bears waiting for time to run out on the Washington Redskins. It is 35-21 Bears. 2nd and 20 for Washington. The ball is on the Bear 38-yard line.
And Joe's throwing for 305 yards. Quite an effort.
So 2nd and 20 from the 38. 1:56 left in the game, and the Redskins trailing by 2 touchdowns. Warren, no longer a tight end, becomes a wide receiver to the right. Monk and Harrison go left in a slot. Theismann over the middle, throws it to Jerry Muckenstern. And Muckenstern is tackled by Forte, and the Bears have come up with the second big interception.
Well, he threw that under pressure. Good pressure by Osborne. Jim Osborne. Let's see it again. Here it is. Watch 68 come in there. Kept coming. He ends up getting in Joe's face with his hands up and hits him on the delivery sack. The ball's thrown behind the receiver.
So Muckenstern and Campbell each have interceptions today. That's the 4th Washington turnover. And with 1 minute and 47 seconds left in the game, it would appear now the Bears have finally put a lock on it. It took them a while before they really did it. For Muckenstern, that's his 2nd interception of the year. 1st and 10 on the 39 for Chicago and Vince Evans. He'll go to Peyton. Waller got to the 40 and then kept fighting his way for additional yardage just shy of the 45.
Well, you have to take your timeouts now on defense. Stop the clock.
Have a few people we would certainly like to thank for helping us. Our executive producer, Charles Milton III, along with our producer, Perry Smith, our director, Tony Berna, to Dr. Bob Woods for his statistical help, Terry Kane and his help with the boards, and to all of the other fellows to help bring the ball game to you. 35-21 Chicago with 1:10 left in the game. Vasnagel goes right. Haynes goes left. They go to Harper, and Harper is stacked up, running into Smith. Paul Smith hit him head on.
Then they just took Peyton out, and he ended up with 109 yards, I believe. 1 touchdown.
39 times in his career, over 100 yards, over 10,000 yards in his career total, counting rushing, receiving, and a return of kick.
I thought Theismann did a tremendous job today. He was behind from the opening sequence, and he stayed in there and finished up with over 300 yards. Scampered for, what did he end up with? How many yards running?
Theismann, 64 yards.
64 yards. Boy, that's a great effort on his part.
But in a losing cause, the 4 turnovers, the 2 interceptions. Meanwhile, the young quarterback, Vince Evans, who was a 6th-round draft choice in 1977, but he had to wait his turn. He had to climb over Avellini and Phipps, and now Evans is starting to come along. And I know that Jim Finks thinks that he's going to be a good one given a little time to calm down.
George Hallis told me also last year when we did a game here, he said Evans is our quarterback of the future.
Big game at the Meadowlands today, and look at that. The Giants have come back in the 4th quarter, and it's 35-35, Dallas and the Giants. The latest score in that game would be a 20-yard pass from Phil Simms to Tom Mulady after Tony Dorsett had put Dallas out in front. Here come the Bears, and Vince Evans on a keeper gets out of bounds as he crossed the 45, and they'll spot it at about the 49.
He took a pretty good whack there. Real good hit.
Another game that is important to the Bears involves Tampa Bay. And as you can say, Pittsburgh, on an 8-yard pass from Doug Williams to Ricky Bell, has taken a 24-21 lead. And they are still in the 3rd quarter. There's 1:20 left. And they have just shut down the 3rd quarter, so they've just begun the 4th, although we still have 1:20 left in the 3rd.
Tampa's finally got their offense moving. They've had an awful time scoring. In fact, the Bears shut them out here Monday night.
The Bears will host Houston next week.
4th and inches. Last play shows the advantage of a running quarterback. They use 2 blockers in front of him, and he just missed making the 1st down.
We have 50 seconds left in the game. 5-0. It is 35-21 Bears. So the Bears figure to win their fourth. They'll be 4-6 when the sun goes down in Chicago.
They're going for it, Ben. 4th and inches.
The Redskins will be 3-7.
A sneak's a good play here. Quarterback sneak.
And there's your sneak, George.
Safest play, direct hit, straight ahead.
Jack Pardee really has his work cut out for him, because no matter what you tell those players, they're going to be 3-7 with 6 games left, trailing Philadelphia and Dallas so far that they're a mere echo. That's a tough spot to be in for any coach.
In that division, that Eastern Division has been a tough one over the years, and you usually have to win 9 or 10 games.
And all they have to do play the next 3 weeks. They play the Eagles, the Cowboys, and the Falcons.
They showed a lot of character coming back to second half. When you're behind 35-0, you got your work cut out for you.
So the Redskins using their last timeout with 45 seconds left in the game. The Bears have the ball, the score, and time all in their favor.
Now all the Bears should do right here is fall on the football. 2 downs, fall on the football. Don't run a play.
While Jack Pardee looks somewhat dismayed on the Washington side, Vince Evans huddles with Neil Armstrong on the Bears side. The Bears got out in front 35-0. And for whatever reason, Washington regrouped, made it 35-21. And then on the 4th turnover, as Theismann was intercepted by Jerry Muckenstern, the Bears just about put the seal on this one.
The Bears came out with more fire, with more drive, with more emotion than the Redskins did. And that's also unusual because they played Monday night. It's more difficult to play on the road, then come home, get home 2 o'clock in the morning, play a ball game.
First and 10 Bears. You can see the time remaining, 45 seconds. And they're going to surround Vince Evans from the looks of things. There he goes with Walter Payton on top of him. That's a picture, isn't it?
Well, I tell you what, that's a pretty good tactic, because by having Payton on top of him, if somebody comes in to spur him, they won't hurt your quarterback. And that's
but you might hurt Walter Payton. Aren't there other people who could cover Evans besides Walter Payton? That's a great thought.
You could use somebody.
Yeah, easily. You could go in the stands for volunteers.
The point I'm making, sometimes a quarterback will fall down and expose himself, and a guy will come in and get a late hit and break his ribs.
Right. But I'd still find somebody else rather than Payton to guard my quarterback. Harper's on the right side, Payton's on the left, and here goes Payton again. Well, with 4 seconds, 3 seconds, Walter Payton, the bodyguard, and time has run out on Washington as the Bears winning a game that they absolutely have to win to stay alive. Chicago beats Washington 35-21. This has been Scully along with George Allen, reminding you that we will join Brent Musburger in New York after this message.